Welcome back to the real world. Good to see you. I just unmuted the mic. Yeah. No. Nothing like it. Yes. This computer, that's fine.
When do I hear them?
I just unmuted.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
So what about their
Wait a minute, hold on.
engine?
No,
El audio de
I think where's Jonathan?
el
Where'd he
audio
go?
y el audio de la gente que va a tener. ¿Dónde está?
Elisa, can you mute the main line?
Wait, what? You could hear me? Oh.
Right, which then didn't work. I had changed the software. It's just so irritating.
You good?
Oh,
Something.
We'll make sure you got everything. You good?
you got it?
Good.
I don't know what I'm hearing.
Well, maybe it'll happen again.
What happened? You good?
Yeah, one of those, one or two.
No, que como estamos hablando.
So keep running around.
All right, you could hear us?
I don't hear him to be, hey.
It's coming out of the QIC. I can hear them.
Is that muted?
Hey, oh, okay.
I don't know, this is something different.
Hi, Maria.
Hi.
I think we
Am I
have some
doing-
folks
Am I
physically
doing something
together.
wrong?
No, I think we have some folks physically together in person today.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh, I see. Okay, good.
And why is that? I thought we're still on Zoom because the mayor's executive order was extended.
I think they're just trying it out, making sure it works.
Okay. But we do all count for quorum, correct?
That's my understanding.
Great.
Yeah, that was the email sent around earlier today.
Thank you, Wayne. How you doing, Jacob?
Good.
Good.
There you go.
Oh, well,
There you go. You can speak.
Liz, can you hear me?
Yeah, all three of you.
All right, well,
That's my understanding.
let me explain what's going on, if you don't
That
mind.
was the email sent around earlier today.
Correct. There was an email that
Oh, wow, there's a delay. This is not good.
And an echo.
Liz, can you hear me?
Yeah, all three of you.
All right, well, let me explain what's going on, if you don't mind. That was a delay of about a minute.
No, that was a delay of about 12 seconds.
No, that's phenomenal.
That's certainly one way to characterize it.
Yeah, so anyway, let me just keep on talking and you hopefully will hear what I have to say. There
You
was
have
a
a
notice
huge
sent out
There's-
earlier.
Echo. I think somebody needs to mute themselves or something, but there's a big echo.
No, that was the delay of about
You look at
12 seconds.
That's phenomenal.
Okay, so.
That's certainly one way to characterize it.
Anyway, let me just keep on talking and you hopefully will hear what I have to say.
Echo. I think somebody needs to mute themselves or something, but there's a big echo.
who's the moderator? Who's the moderator? Is there the moderator? So it moderated. Can you moderate?
Actually, not this one,
It was the YouTube.
yeah. That we might need to keep.
So anyway, I'm just gonna explain.
Well, no, that's,
Oh, I'm not?
no, that's fine. There's one.
Oh, the microphone is sort of on the way too.
Jonathan, that computer's might should be muted as well, right?
That one, no, that one is these microphones.
So anyway, I'm just gonna explain.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna talk about that.
Test. There we go.
So is this working?
No, that's fine.
Yes?
Yeah, it's actually going.
Okay, this is Jim Berlin. Let me explain quickly what's going on in case you didn't happen to get a copy of the letter that was sent out this morning. This is a virtual meeting. It is not a hybrid meeting. It's a virtual meeting where people have the option of attending in groups, and there's a group of people here at the United Palace. But this is a typical virtual meeting, and only the virtual meetings are in force. So therefore, everyone at home on the community board who signed into this meeting is a member of the quorum of this virtual meeting. And in fact, one of the reasons we're going through this is to, and as you see, we're having some difficulty to work out all of the problems when we actually have to have hybrid meetings. But this is a virtual meeting, so Welcome at home. You're actually here, a full member of this meeting.
So this is basically a virtual meeting with an in-person option as opposed to an in-person meeting with a virtual option.
Work out all the problems and actually have
What's happening?
Is somebody monitoring the chat for the public speaker session? And if not, do you need me to do that?
Am I the only person not getting audio? It appears that they're speaking in the room, but I'm getting no audio.
It's not that your audio isn't working, it's that he's muted. Which solves the echo problem, but we can't hear what he's saying. So, you know,
Can you hear me now?
we can. And we
Yes.
can hear you, all three of you.
That means somebody in your area where you are needs to put their volume down from their devices. Or
No one
maybe-
else, no one else is speaking at the same time that I am. So there shouldn't be a problem. It's probably the speakers behind me. So let me try and get the.
Yeah, you're mic'd.
Okay, good. So let me try and get that turned off.
So we might not be able to hear the other people.
Because they're coming right back and feeding into the microphones. So can you hear me now? Lower the volume a bit. Just a bit. Lower it.
There's still an echo.
How about now?
Feeling like we're not going to completely get away from the echo as long as they're mic'd in the room and have speakers going.
But now,
It's a slight echo, but it's not
there's
as
still
bad.
an echo, right?
But slightly. It's not
Not as much.
before. Yeah.
Better.
Okay, so there are several people that have their mics on
We're
or
good.
they're not
Lower it
muted.
as much as you
If
can.
everyone
And I
muted,
just get the
that would
mic
help.
closer to me so that I don't get that echo.
That is so much better.
Good now?
Yes,
It's
perfect.
a lot better.
Well, the issue is we may not.
All right,
be able to hear
good.
the people.
So we're gonna
Then
call
I
the
have a
meeting to order
question before
at
we start.
6:43. Hopefully, we're not getting that echo. Hopefully, you guys, the audience of 3,000 people that are here can also hear me as well. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I think the the purpose of trying to have this meeting at the glamorous and very modern United Palace was to give the Dyckman scholars an opportunity to come and see for themselves, what we have in our community. I don't know if any of you guys had been here before, but hopefully this is a time in which you'll appreciate some of the things that we have to offer our community. So I'd like to congratulate you first, the parents and the families, for your support to make sure that your kids graduate and the kids went through as hard time as they had been, and your support is really key in order to make sure that they succeed later on in life. So I'm gonna now put a motion on the floor to get November 22's agenda approved.
I approve the agenda. I might make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
Any abstentions? Isidro did. Any abstentions? Motion passes. I'm gonna move on to the October 22 minutes. Any abstentions? No?
I'm actually going to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting, so I feel like I'm not entitled to an opinion on the minutes for a meeting I didn't attend.
I move that we accept the minutes as a reporter. This is Maria.
I second.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. So as part of my chair report, instead, we're going to have something more glamorous and more exciting. And that is the presentation of the Dyckman Scholars 2022. Ross, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Am I being heard both here and on Zoom? Yes. Okay, well, thank you. This is a little, I don't know whether to speak here or here, but thank you. Yes, my name is Ross Frommer, Vice President for Government and Community Affairs at Columbia University Irving Medical Center. And it is a pleasure to be with you, at least some of you, in person. This is my first community board meeting in person in over 3 years, and what a joyous occasion to be back with you tonight. This is something we've done every year. I always enjoy it. I want to start by thanking the Dyckman Institute Scholarship Committee from the community, Martin Collins, former chair of Community Board 12, Albert Garcia, who's with us tonight, Ziad Ramadan, also another former chair, Don Rice from the Dyckman Farmhouse, Patricia Rojas, a Columbia graduate and also Dyckman scholar of the past, Steve Simon, and of course, Bob Isaac. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge all the work that they do in promoting and strengthening the Dyckman scholarship. So my colleague, Leah Simone from the Office of Financial Aid and Missions wanted me to be with me here tonight, but is unable to make it. So she just asked me to say a couple of words on her behalf and on behalf of the Columbia College and School of Engineering. She is watching virtually, so if I mess up, she will let me know. The mission of our office is to help all students admitted to Columbia College and the Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, regardless of individual financial circumstances, achieve their goal of pursuing a world-class education at Columbia University. In regards to admissions, we want families to know that Columbia admits students in a need-blind manner for U.S. citizens, non-citizens, and students without documentation. This means that their admissions office does not consider a family's financial circumstances in determining admission. In regards to financial aid, we are very fortunate to be able to award aid to meet a student's full need, which includes grants and term time work component. In addition, students whose parents' annual income falls below $66,000 will generally have zero financial contribution in order to attend Columbia. And for this year, students with family incomes up to $150,000 will also generally be able to attend Columbia tuition free. I can say for the 2022-2023 school year, we have awarded over $200 million in institutional funds. These Columbia University funds are made possible by our families of donors, including alumni, parents, and friends of Columbia University. The Dyckman Foundation is one of these donors and generously provides for up to 4 Columbia undergraduate students each year from Washington Heights and Inwood who attend Columbia. Tonight, we celebrate 2 of those scholars who are with us here today, Richie Barua and Shahid Tabit, and also freshman first-year Maki Nianto, who is this year's new Dyckman Scholar, but unfortunately is unable to be with us today. I think he's actually in class doing the things that students do. But also I'd like to acknowledge the achievements of so many other students from Northern Manhattan who attend Columbia. And I can tell you from this year, and I may get these numbers wrong, so please don't quote me exactly. I believe we have somewhere around 24 students from Northern Manhattan, Washington Heights, and Inwood attending Columbia College and the Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, or SEAS as we call it, and who have combined over $1 million in financial aid from the university. So with that, you've heard me talk long enough. It is now my pleasure to introduce a former Dyckman Scholar. He talked about how old he is, but he still looks young to me. From the class of 1997, Albert Garcia.
Hi, I'm sorry. Can we see them?
Yeah, we're fixing that right now. You can step up to the,
All right.
you can come up.
You want me to come up?
Yeah, you can come up this way. Yeah,
Up this already?
yeah, sure. Come on down.
Eleazar, can you unblur your screen, please?
Yeah.
Hi, how you doing? As Ross said, thank you, Ross. My name is Albert Garcia, class of 1997 at Columbia. Thank you again for this opportunity to just say a couple of words before we get to the main folks here, which is this generation of students. When I was awarded the Dyckman Scholar, it was only the second year that we were restarting the program there, and really want to thank a lot of the efforts of the folks that we don't see here and that we continue to see here on the community board. They were the ones that really pushed to get Columbia to reinstate this. It only continues to be there because of the pressure of the community to do that. And one of the great things that I learned at Columbia was this combination of really great academic teachers that we had there, but also the education that we learned with our community members, right? I was taught at Columbia not to shut the door out of all the folks who I learned here in terms of in Washington Heights and in Inwood, but to bring them with us, right? And that's, I think, when you talk to all the different alums who have been raised here in Washington Heights and in Inwood, who continue to go through that university and continue to do great things, they will always talk about the combination of an Ivy League education, but also the Ivy League education that we get up here in Washington Heights among the variety of different immigrant and ethnic groups that really do pepper this area. After Columbia, I was blessed to do a bunch of things. I was a journalist. I spent a couple of years working with Mike Fiddleson at the Manhattan Times, which was a great joy. I also got to work 5 years in the office of Congressman Charles Rangel as his press secretary. And I spent the last several years working on philanthropy, on the philanthropy side, helping to help fund social justice movements all across the country. But the one thing that always continues to drive me here is being a proud child of Washington Heights and Washington Heights Inwood. And so I think there's a lot of great folks who've come through those doors. Some of them, again, who weren't Dyckman Scholars. I went to school literally. Two of my really good friends at Columbia, we didn't even know each other in the neighborhood, and yet we each lived a block away from each other. I grew up on 172nd and for Washington. Mauricio Mena grew up on 172nd in Haven, and Germán Santana grew up on 172nd in St. Nicholas, right? And we didn't know each other until we got to Columbia, and we continue to know each other. And so really that's what is ahead of you as you go. The folks at Columbia are enriched by your presence, and they continue to be enriched by the presence of Northern Manhattan students there at Columbia. So thank you again, and congratulations to these year's students.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind words, Russ. You're just gonna have to wing it out and do it from here.
Well, thank you, Albert. And am I on screen? Okay. Can I invite Richie and Shahid to come up on the stage with me right now? So as I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, Maki Niantel cannot be with us here tonight, but I have two of our Dyckman Scholars this year. First, I'm going to introduce Richie Barua, who's currently a second-year student. Richie, can you say a couple of words?
Hi, everyone. My name is Richie. I'm a sophomore at Columbia College. I'm hoping to concentrate in sociology on the pre-med track. So the goal is to become a doctor, but also I have interest in public health, specifically working for immigrant and BIPOC communities. I grew up like 2 streets away from Dyckman. I'm an immigrant myself, so growing up in this neighborhood has been extremely meaningful for me because there's just so many people from similar backgrounds as me. So I just want to quickly thank the Washington Heights and community and Columbia for giving support, providing support to the students who go to high schools in these communities or who grew up here to receive an education. And hopefully one day I can provide back in greater amount to this community with the education that I'm receiving today. Yeah.
Thank you, Richie. Now, my pleasure to introduce third-year student Shahid Tabit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shahid Tabit. I'm a junior in Columbia College studying neuroscience and behavior on the pre-med track. I was born and raised here in Washington Heights. I live like literally on 176 on St. Nick, so like an avenue away, which was a nice walk here, I guess. In terms of my time here in the Washington Heights, there was a lot of great memories I had, but character building memories were the most. And I remember when I was a young kid, like in 3rd grade, I went to my dad and I told him, I think I might want to take this school stuff a little bit serious. And he looked at me with a very serious face and he said, "You're going to be the valedictorian of this school." And then he walked me that same day in front of Columbia and he said, "You see these great people walking in here? You see the campus, how beautiful it is? That's going to be your school." And I was like 8, 9 years old and I just saw the big buildings and I just wanted to be there so bad. And deep down, when no one was watching, in my heart, I dreamed of that moment. I slept of it. I literally dreamed like standing in stage, walking in. And it was like a great moment. But deep inside, I knew that I wanted that. And there's a quote in the Quran, chapter 13, verse 11. It says, "Verily Allah will not change the condition of man unless he changes what is within himself." So with that, I worked on it every day, just dreaming about it, thinking what will happen if I just took one step forward, and not to see what I am right now, but see what I could be, my potential. I wasn't the greatest student growing up. English wasn't the first spoken language, so English was hard for me at first. But I just saw myself based on what people saw in me, my parents, and I was very grateful. And another quote that I really like to say all the time and like to mention is, when you look in the mirror, you always see yourself. You look at your hair, you fix it, you think, what I got to do to get better? I need bigger muscles here. I need to fix up here and here. But when you move the mirror to the side, you see the millions of people that need your help. And I'm grateful that you guys are here, giving part of your lives, not just your time, but your lives to do that. So it's very grateful. And I think you guys should be appreciated in that sense as well, because you really do sacrifice a lot of your life to do this. And I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shahid. Thank you, Richie. I should note that parents are in the audience with us today. So a big virtual applause for the parents of our Dyckman Scholars. I'm sure this is a lot of their work as well. I tell you, I get very excited when I hear about folks wanting to go into medicine, neuroscience. I work at the medical center. It's always great to hear about students who grew up in Washington Heights, went to Columbia, and then someday maybe end up with us up on 168th Street. I did have an email this week with, I can now say proudly, Dr. Auri Garcia, who you may recall is a previous Dyckman scholar, child of Washington Heights, Columbia College, and graduate of Vagelos College of Physicians and Surgeons. She is now a resident at New York Presbyterian and would have been with us here tonight, except that she's with patients. So with that, I want to again thank the chair, thank other members of the community board for inviting me here today. And I look forward to seeing you and doing this again roughly 12 months from now. Thank you very much.
I want to give a special thanks to Mike Fiddleson, his staff, because after listening to the words of the two scholars, I think that they're moving words. It gives you the chance, even at our age, right, Isidro, to still dream, right? That dreams can become a reality, that they can become true. So thank you, Ross, for giving us the opportunity to every year, year after year, you bring this new blood, this new students that really makes it worth it for us to continue to dedicate our time to serve our community. Thank you, really. Let me just sit down. Angel, I'm gonna be sitting right next to you. I'm gonna now move on to the nominating committee.
I have my hand up.
Daryl? There's a hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, congratulations to the scholars. Very proud of you. And hope you're going to do great things. And I wanted to say, I appreciate that we are practicing testing out the system. However, I think it could be a little confusing for people, and there wasn't any advance notice. Like, I literally got an email today at 10:01 a.m. About this test. I think that there should have been more advanced notification to board members, and there should have been just a heads up to the community, just to let them know what was going to be happening, so people are not logging in and confused. And then, I think that is something that we should have been cognizant of making sure that we are giving advance notice, because this is, it just wasn't fair to people to put out an email at 10:01 a.m. on the day of and not inform people properly. We are here for the community, and we need to make sure that we are not only making sure that we are considerate of board members who might have been interested. I wasn't going to be able to be there anyway, but if anybody was, they wanted to see how that would work, they would have had that opportunity. And community members who might wanted to have dropped over could have opportunity to participate in that test. So, I really hope that, that we don't get into a habit of, continue the habit of doing things like that, and making sure that we are inclusive in our decisions and what we're doing, so that people are aware.
Yeah. Thank you.
But 10:01
We'll now
a.m. was
move
not
on to,
appropriate.
the nomination committee, Daryl, report. There is another hand. I can't see it. Can you please let me know? Yeah.
Aisha.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Tanya is saying. And I also want to raise the fact that I'm a member of the IT committee. I actually was one of the founding members. I was the reason why the committee itself was created. And you could ask George Fernandez that himself. I was removed from that task force without cause because of a separate issue, because I was vigilant about a specific community issue. And this administration, over the course of 2 years, has not engaged me on that committee. I would imagine that this hybrid meeting is one of the functions of IT. I was not informed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Daryl.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see folks in person and on the screen back there. Few things from the nominations committee. First, let me be one of the first folks to thank the current officers for their service. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure this isn't the last we see of you. I also want to thank the nominations committee, Leo, Joaquis, Carl, Luana, Maritza. Yes, thank you, Masita, and Robin, and I hope I didn't forget anybody. Sorry if I butchered your name. And it's odd because we've been virtual for so long. I haven't actually met some of these folks in person, but I do thank you for taking time out of your weekend. I know some folks who might be virtual or here in person may not have had a chance to respond to some of the inquiries you received from the nominations committee. Is there anyone in that boat that would like to mention that at the moment now? I mean, I think there were just a couple holdouts. Okay. So with no. What? Oh, I do.
Well, Aisha, is that an old hand? Yes, that's an old hand. So Liz, please.
Liz, I did see your response. Did you have an additional comment on it?
I do. Would you be willing to screen share the list of eligible board members who are eligible to stand for nomination?
We don't have that list here.
I don't believe we have that. No.
Yes, I may have it in my email. Hold on a second. Let me look at it.
Oh, okay.
This is gonna try and pull it
At
up.
some point, there's going to be an opportunity
Yeah.
for folks.
Ebenezer's going to try to pull that up right now. I believe there were 30 members of currently serving that were eligible for a board role according to bylaws.
Mhm.
You do have to have been a board member for 12 months, the last 12 months, as well as have good attendance at the full board meeting as well as committee. But in the meantime, I can go ahead and say that there were, as far as I know, and again, from the nominations committee, I apologize if I maybe missed an email or a text, but from the response we received, there are 2 people to fill 6 roles. So for the office of chair, we have Catherine Diaz. And for the office of first vice chair, we have Angel Vasquez. The offices of secretary, assistant secretary, treasurer, and second vice chair are currently vacant, and the nominations committee does not have anyone to report for those roles. So at this point, we will take nominations from the floor for any of the 6 positions. I do see a hand in front of me, Isidro. What's that? Oh, okay. Thank you. We'll go by position. So are there any nominations from the floor for chair?
Well, hold on a second. Usually we do starting with assistant secretary and moving up.
Okay,
And
we can do that.
also,
That's fine.
This is the part.
To
where
build
it
the
would be-
suspense.
Well, this is the part where it would be super helpful to have a listing of who's qualified so that in the course of making nominations, we don't nominate people who are not qualified pursuant to our bylaws to run. So if we could get that list up on a screen share would be very helpful. And without it, I feel like it's difficult to proceed.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, I think hopefully folks know most of the individuals that have been on the board for over a year, but yeah, I
Right,
definitely
but
hear what you're saying.
without-
And
We don't, so there are, to be clear, there are multiple qualifications. You have to have been on the board for more than a year, and you have to have attendance at more than, I believe it's 2/3 of your
Yeah,
assigned
I did
committee.
mention that.
And more than, right, so I don't make a habit of monitoring everybody else's attendance. So I have no way of knowing which of my year-plus long colleagues meet that attendance threshold. So again, I say it would be super helpful to have the list of qualified, eligible, I'm sorry, not qualified,
I
eligible.
understand what you're saying. Yeah, and Ebenezer's working on pulling up that list right now, okay?
Allow me to comment on that. Liz's point is very well taken, and as Darrell pointed out, Ebenezer's working on it. What we might want to do, and we're going to presume that Ebenezer will be successful, is postpone this part of the meeting, and ideally we will have that list available and then we will get back. I hope that will be acceptable. So let's do that.
That's a great idea, Jim.
Thank you. I think we just did it. Right. There's no objection, correct? Thank you.
Okay, so now back to
Now back to Ebenezer, who's on the phone.
back to our regularly scheduled program. Stay tuned.
So
Well, I just wanted to reiterate what we said before, because you're seeing a whole bunch of glitches. And at some point in the future, we will be required to have hybrid meetings. And so one of the things we're doing tonight, and I believe we all apologize for the difficulty we're having, is working out all the glitches. So when we're forced to do this, we'll be able to do it much better. Now I turn you back to our MC.
Okay. Thank you, the committee and Darrell for the hard work you guys put in. It's really time consuming, and it takes a lot of motivation to make sure that all of the candidates are called and approached, so that we get the people that really want to participate as part of the executive committee to be notified on time. So thank you. I'm going to move on to the report from our district manager, Ebenezer Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Always is a pleasure being here as your district manager and give my report. For this month, I would like to share with you some information that Con Edison presented during the district service cabinet meeting last week. Con Edison, let me go back to last month. You may recall that I reported that last month that Con Edison will be turning off anyone who was in arrears and did not respond to the notification to pay. So last week, this month, Con Edison announced two programs to help people in need for the electricity. One of the programs is the Energy Affordability Program, and the other one is the Financial Help for a Struggling Customer. The Energy Affordability Program, formerly known as Low Income Discount Program, is available for people who qualify, for individuals that are already receiving benefits from a government program. See, if you receive any benefit from the government program and you are having trouble with the cost of the energy, you may apply to this program, and you need to submit all the documents that support your position to go into low income rate at conedison.com. Or you can call Con Edison 212-844-0110. The other program is the Financial Help for the Struggling Customer. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the New York Public Services Commission has approved the electrical and gas relief program for income eligible New Yorkers. Again, you can go to the Con Edison website and register for this, but you must submit this application no later than December 31st, 2022. December 31st, 2022, you need to submit this application. We received last Friday night an email from the 34th Prison Community Affairs Unit informing us that Friday at 9:41 p.m., the strike force team was attempting to make an arrest to one individual. The perpetrator ran into an apartment in building 72 Vermilia Avenue and shot at the police. The police returned the fire and the individual was killed. Oh, well, it was killed. No, it doesn't know if the police killed the individual or he killed himself, because the police spent several time trying to seduce the individual and come out. And after they broke into the apartment, they found the individual that was dead and had two guns near to him. The Parks Department representative report to us two break-ins in two of our parks. One was Jehu Wright. People broke into this park. Nothing was missing, but they broke in and the police is investigating. And also the other break-in was in High Bridge Park, and I think a few things were missing. The 33rd precinct took note of these break-ins, and they start working together with Parks Department in order to avoid this breaking in the future and try to catch the people that is doing that. And finally, I want to call all the chairperson of Community Board 12 for please review the calendar for the month of December and make sure that the date and time of your committee is correct. And also make sure on the back of the calendar that the agenda items that you're going to be discussing will be, they are corrected. Several committees are to be determined. I hope that I can get this information no later than tomorrow morning so we can complete the calendar and send it out before the holidays. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. This is the end of my report. God bless you all.
Thank you, Ebenezer, for all the hard work you put in. We're going to have a special report from the Fire Department Chief Joseph Dudley in reference to the fire that happened at Broadway, the corner of Broadway and
Wait.
204, in
Can we
reference to
ask
the death
questions of the
that
district
transpired
manager?
last week. So,
Wait, can we ask questions of the district manager?
okay.
There's a question.
Is there a question for me?
Yes.
Yes, what is the question, please?
Well, actually, Mary had her hand up first, so seems fair for her to ask her question first.
It's just a comment that I still see on the December calendar that my meeting is at 10 o'clock and it's at 10:30. I expected that would be changed already.
Yes, it had been corrected. I corrected
No, it's
already the
not.
one that
No,
went
it's
out
not.
today.
It's at 10 o'clock on the calendar. I just printed out today.
Well, it's corrected in the one I have here, and it's gonna be out the correct way.
What was the second hand?
That would be me. Ebenezer, I have a question about the Haven Avenue pathway down to Fort Washington Park. There's a group of folks who, I can't remember their names, but they are organized under Friends of J. Hood Wright Park, and they are doing some work in maintain the cleanliness and sort of integrity of the path along Haven Avenue that goes down to Fort Washington Park. And as you know, that whole area is a little bit of a bureaucratic mess because the lines of authority between, you know, what's New York City Parks, what's New York City DOT, what's New York State DOT, what is the Port Authority, and what's like Homeland Security is not really clear. So I know that's been like a standing issue at the District Services Cabinet meeting, and I'm just wondering, has there been any clarity established on who's going to be taking care of some of the cleanup, some of the graffiti removal, and some of the infrastructure repairs to the sidewalk, not the sidewalks, but the pathway itself, which is, let's just say, rapidly degrading?
Liz, I am very sorry to tell you that your comment or question is not that clear. Nobody can hear it here. I think you mentioned something about the Port Authority, and I don't know,
Is
probably
it the
this volume?
Do you need me to repeat my question?
Yes, and you can speak a little louder, would be, if it's possible.
Is it possible for me to speak louder? Have you met me? Sure. I will also.
Well, the
lean
computer
into
is
my
not helping you,
microphone.
Liz,
Okay,
today.
can you hear this now?
You can speak a little louder, would be better.
How's this?
Sounds better.
Great. Okay, so the Friends of J. Hood Wright Park it is trying to work on cleaning and maintaining the pathway on Haven Avenue that leads from J. Hood Wright Park at the back down to Fort Washington Park. Part of the problem with being a community activist around that area is there are at least 5 agencies who have responsibility for various pieces of that. And the lines of control between New York City Parks, New York City DOT, New York State DOT, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and the US Department of Homeland Security, it's just not clear, which square inch of what belongs to which agency, which is why it's super helpful to vet all of this through the District Services Cabinet meeting when representatives from all of those agencies are together in a room, and it's a little more difficult for each one to pass the buck to the other one. So I don't actually expect an answer right now. I'm happy to take my answer from you in writing later, but I just want to flag for the record that this is an ongoing concern. I know that it's been raised before at the District Services Cabinet, and I'm just wondering, how are we doing with that to get some cleanup and some graffiti removal and some repair of the underlying infrastructure like the sidewalks and the paving, which are increasingly damaged.
Okay, thank you. This is the old issue that has been dealing for many years. I call the path to the little red lighthouse. We have several meetings during the summertime, and we identified the jurisdiction for each agency. The report is that DOT was cleaning it twice a month, or every other week, and the New York Port Authority, they promise us they're going to be taking care of some problems. I identified another problem that people can get hurt in the path, that the fence, iron fence are down and a big hole. Parks Department is working on that. Jeff from Parks Department report that they know they're working. I asked them if they need some help with the big sinkhole. But yes, you are welcome to come to one of the District Service Cabinet meeting next month if you want, and bring some of the representatives. More than happy to work together with the agencies and make sure that the agency hear from the volunteers firsthand.
I appreciate that. I'm not going to be able to attend the DSC. I rely on you as the district manager to, do that work because that is your job. It would be super helpful if you could get back to me with some kind of just quick written update so that I can share that with people at the next Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee meeting. That would be very helpful to me, and I would appreciate it, as I am sure would the other members of the committee and the members of the public who raised this matter.
Okay, we follow up. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're gonna move forward to.
I have
try
my
and get-
hand up.
So it's in your email.
There's a hand up. Go ahead.
Is somebody monitoring when we have our hands up?
Can you please ask a question? Thank you.
Okay, we just heard from Aisha sitting here, and I heard what everybody else heard, which was that she has been saying that she was not included in notifications and hasn't been for a couple of years on the IT committee, and that she was not informed about any of the situation. I mean, any of the activities or logistics for this evening. I am appalled that we just basically, as a board, just heard that testimony from one of our own board members about concerns about discrimination and exclusion, and we just went on by as if we didn't even hear it. That's disgusting. Were you all at the trainings that we did last week that were put together to try to help us do better on these things? And did anybody even attend that? And did anybody even
Excuse me,
listen?
I like to figure out
I'm
what the
sorry,
question
I
is.
have my 2 minutes.
Okay,
Excuse
so
me.
just ask the question.
Excuse me,
so
you're
we can-
interrupting my time. That is another
Go ahead,
problem.
please.
You are interrupting my time, and I take
Go
back
ahead.
my time.
Go ahead.
I said what I said, which was that we heard from a board member who expressed concern about years of exclusion, and including tonight, and that was not even addressed. I am making a motion that this board would like to make a motion that this board investigate those concerns, investigate what has happened, so that there can be some resolution, there can be some resolution to this matter. We can sit here and allow that sort of thing to just go by as if we didn't hear it. What kind of example is that setting? That someone is saying that they feel like they're discriminated. And I would say this for anybody that would have made a statement like in this meeting. It doesn't matter who they would be. Okay, so I'm making a motion that we look to this matter so that there can be some analysis about what occurred and that there could be some resolution to this particular situation. I will not particularly stand for discrimination or hearing about it, and I will not act like I did not hear it.
3
And I
seconds.
think it's disgusting that was said and no one even bothered to even address it. A motion is on the floor. Is anybody
Second.
willing to second it?
I second. This is Aisha Ogilvy. And
You're gonna have to just, all you gotta do is just second it, and then Jim will take the case from there. Go ahead, Jim.
okay, but I also have my hand raised. So I just wanted to
Excuse me,
add-
Aisha, you second the motion and now we're gonna
Okay, well, I
proceed on
paused
that.
and no one said anything.
Unfortunately, and you're not here at the United Palace with us. As you may have, as you saw, we actually had to ask our dear friend Liz Ritter to speak louder. So we're having trouble hearing. And you know, it's possible that we didn't hear the full extent of your concerns. So there's a motion that the situation that Aisha complained about be investigated. That motion was seconded. At this point, is there any we could have discussion on the motion, but on the other hand,
Yeah, we can have discussion on the motion.
Right,
which was
unfortunately-
my intention with raising my hand.
yeah, unfortunately, I was just reminded that although your motion is in order, it's not in order now. It's in order as new business. It will be in order as new business. So we will make sure we get to your motion in new business. And then we can discuss it and get some refinement on exactly what kind of investigation would be in order, and we will work on that later. And now we would like to proceed with the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. So Chief Dudley, if you want to give us a report on the fire in 204 and Broadway. Thank you.
Give you a quick rundown of the times, the response, and hopefully answer some questions. You know, before they, if I get to go through my presentation, I think I'll answer. If anybody has any questions after that, I'll be happy to try to answer them. So we received a call for smoke in apartment 4E Edward at 0549 hours. Engine 95, which is the local firehouse engine and truck arrived. By 0601, a 1075 was given, which means that we acknowledge that there's a working fire, and more units respond on that once we confirm that there's a fire in the building. I the 1-3 battalion, which I happen to be working at, morning. We were there by 0556, so 3 minutes later, behind the original unit, we arrived. The 1045 was given at 611. It's not much of a delay, but the original caller was from Fort Edward reporting smoke. And then we also had another resident say that the smoke was in their apartment, David. 3E was the actual fire department. And there was also heavy clutter in the room where the 1045, the victim that was deceased, was found. I have some information about the building inspections. The building was fully inspected on 10/12 of 2022, complete inspection, no issues. And it was also, I have a history of it, but it was also the previous year, 5/5/2021, also had a complete inspection. Just, I'm not sure who's aware of when we inspect a building that size, it is a large apartment building. We do not go into individual apartments. We check stairways, we check public areas, in the basement, stairways, fire escapes, the roof area, make sure everything is in condition, good condition, and things aren't locked. There's no rubbish, things of that nature. If you have any questions, I'll tap off and I'd be glad to try to answer.
Okay, is there any questions from anyone on the floor or our friends?
Steve Simon.
Steve Simon has a question. Steve, go ahead.
Chief, did you indicate whether the fire marshals are investigating to determine the cause of the fire, or whether the cause of the fire is known at this time?
No, I did not, but I can tell you that the signal to call the fire marshals was given at the fire and are investigating.
I'm sorry, they are investigating. So at this point, we do not know the cause. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Aisha.
Oh, hi. So I missed the date of that fire. And I have a couple of other points, but what was the date of that fire? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Was 11/20 of 22. The original alarm came in at 5:46 a.m.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to raise the visibility of 220 Audubon, where there was also a fire, and if you could possibly comment on the circumstances there. But I also want to raise to our board that I'm on the housing committee for many years now, and we had a meeting at the beginning of November, and I believe the 220 Audubon fire was in the beginning of October. And I would have liked to know that one of the buildings in our district was facing such an issue, especially where people are homeless at this point because of being ousted by the fire and dealing with the circumstances for that. I feel like we could have definitely been advocates in that regard, and that we should be in the know of what are the benefits that we could expect be extended to victims of fire in such a situation, but also to know what happened in that case, in that fire, what was the reason behind that, and so that we can follow these things and so that we can support the residents in our community. So thank you.
I can address one of those issues. I did not do any research on 220 Audubon. I would need like a date and a time. It's not too difficult for us to look up, but when there is a fire and we do have residents that may have to be relocated, the Red Cross does respond. They respond to any call from private citizens. The fire department usually does not them anymore, but they can just be notified by anyone, and then they will come and they will assist. in relocating people short-term and long-term.
And having spoken to some of the families, I'm just for the awareness of the board and the community. I've been told by families in that specific case, they've been given 3 days in a hotel. So definitely a concern when people are facing homelessness. So as a member of this board that sits on the housing committee, I would like to know, and this is not a question to you directly, but just in general, that it would be good to know what are the parameters of what happens when a fire takes place and how it impacts the people in our city. So thank you very much.
Any other questions? Sandra? I'm assuming it's Sandra Sanchez. Is that you?
Yes.
The one and only. Thank you. Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you.
I'm the only Sandra you're allowed to know. I
Thank
just
you.
want to answer directly Aisha's question. 220 Audubon, our marshals are still investigating that fire. So there is no cause as of yet. We've been working with our elected officials. We work in particular with the council member's office. There's no cause. And once that's available, I will be sure to share that with the community board, because that's something that our marshals are still investigating. A bit of a note, a marshal's investigation, much like a police investigation, sometimes the cause is very easy and simple to determine, and we can close out that report. And other times there's a longer interview process that takes place, more investigation that comes in, that may take a little while. But once that is available, I will share it with the community board. Many thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Chief. I think the questions were right on. I think that we were able to find out more from you guys than we did from the news. So thank you for always bringing us up to date. We're gonna now move on before we get to the nomination committee. We're gonna move on to our elected officials reports from the office of Carmen De La Rosas. She's walking up the steps. Here she comes.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I wanted to discuss the fire since we're on that topic. Our office is always tries to be on scene at least 2 days before, after the fire happens. I've been working with Sandra. So hey, Sandra, I'm always emailing her asking for fire reports, and she does report. Send them to me whenever they're ready. In regards to 220 Audubon and other fires that even happened this weekend, I have been in contact with the tenants. I have been providing the assistance that they need. I do not have the ability to provide sheltering in the sense of like apartments, but we do speak to the landlord company, and we get on the call with the council member, the landlord company and I, to see what are their options. Some of them do not provide any type of sheltering and state that they do not have any apartments to give to those displaced families. So then we work on an alternative. If it's not a family member, it is the HRA system. Red Cross is on scene, and they give about 2 to 3 days in hotels. And we know that that's not enough for these families, especially during the winter time and families who are more than 2 people. But I'm glad that that topic was brought up, because I wanted to talk about that. We had 220 Audubon, we had 187 that just passed this weekend. We had 204 Street, and we were on scene at all times. If you hear any families who are in need of services in terms of fire displacements, please send them to our office. Please share my contact information. It is something that we try to work closely with. And in regards to that, we had, to my report, we had our transportation town hall last week. It was a good turnout at 4 Washington Collegiate Church. We were able to have different transportation advocates there, different groups of that are advocates on transportation, and also the MTA and the NYPD from the 34th precinct. It was a good turnout, and we were able to get questions for people who had concerns either online. We had a Zoom option. We had Instagram Live and I believe Facebook Live. And then we had obviously people come and attend in person. We had our turkey giveaways yesterday right here at the United Palace. It was great to see families and all the elderly ladies very happy with their little carts come pick up their turkeys. We're now gonna obviously let Thanksgiving pass and then start working on our Christmas event, which is not finalized just yet. In terms of the legislation updates, Councilwoman De La Rosa is calling on the New York State Legislature to pass the governor to sign it's 8.9398/S.8166 to establish the Nail Salon Minimum Standards Act, which would be just making sure my notes are correct here. It would be to establish new workplace standards for all nail salons in New York, including issues such as wages, scheduling, paid time off, and training. So she is calling on the governor to pass that act. I think that's about it. I want to keep it short. You guys all have my phone number. If not, I'll share it with the office. It could be spread out, and you guys all have my email. Thank you. I don't know where to look because this is very awkward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamila. I don't see any hands up on the screen unless someone is gonna ask a question now. Now from the Robert Jackson's office, Judalis. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead,
Good
Judalis.
evening, everyone. Happy holidays. I'm going to spare you a close-up of my face so that I can speak loud into the mic. So those that are in United Palace can hear me. So last week, Senator Jackson was pleased to stand with Inwood residents in providing testimony to the BSA, which is the Board of Standards and Appeals, regarding the proposed development at 20 Cumming Street, former Holy Trinity Church. The senator urged the BSA to reject the flawed application and will continue to keep a close eye on any new developments in this regard. In terms of fires, I want to also echo Jamila's comments. Our office is happy to serve as an additional resource, and the Red Cross knows to provide our office's information to tenants who experience the horrific catastrophe of a fire. Budget letter. So if your organization would like to be considered for grants for the 2023 budget process, please send a letter on your organization's letterhead, which includes funding being requested, purpose of the funds, how they will be utilized, and detail on the work your organization provides that benefits the community to jackson@nysenate.gov. The budget request letter is different than the capital request letter. Minimum of $50,000 projects for capital request, which we're still accepting. Same procedure, send an email to jackson@nysenate.gov. We are happy to report that our bill S2012-A, which was introduced by Senator Jackson, was signed into law today. This prohibits landlords from charging rent-regulated tenants a fee for each AC unit installed where the tenant pays for electricity. HCR allows landlords to charge tenants $5 per AC unit a tenant installs. Tenants will no longer be charged this $5 fee or any fee for AC units they've installed. In terms of events, as part of our Migrant Mutual Aid initiative, we held a coat drive with local partners that resulted on over 150 coats that were collected. The drive culminated in a distribution that happened this past Sunday for asylum seekers and folks experiencing temporary housing and anyone who identified themselves as needing a coat. We also held 2 turkey giveaways today in Dyckman and Washington Heights and have given vouchers to school PTAs, senior centers, and others who've requested them from our office. We have a couple of upcoming events. Our office will host a utility debt clinic on December 6th from 3 to 6 p.m. at 5030 Broadway, Suite 701. Will help constituents apply for the program that Ebenezer spoke about. There was state funding that may eliminate utility debt through May 1, 2022. And you must be enrolled in the Energy Affordability Program by December 31, 2022 to qualify. Lastly, on December 10, we're partnering with Spanglish Voices and other organizations to host a free store bonanza that will take place at Alianza Dominicana. In addition to clothing and goods, we'll have legal assistance, sanitary product, diapers, and other services. For attendees, for more information, please feel free to be in touch with our office. Happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jodalis. We have a question from Francisco Lopez.
Yes, hello. I might have missed it, but does that air conditioning stuff apply to NYCHA residents as well?
I would assume it does not apply to NYCHA residents because it is for tenants who pay for electricity. Does
Next
that answer your
questions,
question?
Liz. Oh.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, can you tell me again the details on your free store event? Where is it?
Yes, Liz.
what's the time?
I'm going to circulate a flyer to CB12, but it's on December 10th from 11 to 3 p.m. at Alianza Dominicana on 166th Street.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Jodalis. Next up, we have oh, sorry, I thought that was the feedback. We have Evelyn Collado from the mayor's office. And if you're not, I'm so sorry if I butchered that.
So I'm actually the Manhattan Borough Director for New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Chair Bueno, for the opportunity to speak to the Community Board 12 community tonight. We have a lot of stuff going on as the financial watchdog of the city. We are constantly conducting audits and surveys of how the city agencies are working or not working. But I would like to bring your attention to some of the reports that we have released in the last week. We recently released an outline of Comptroller Brad Lander framework for comprehensive property tax reform that addresses long overdue relief for overtaxed homeowners and advances a better way of taxing multifamily development in the wake of the expiration of the 421A property tax break. So these are is a framework that will incentivize new rental housing production by reducing the tax base rate approximately by 30% to be on par with condos and tie tax breaks to the actual cost and affordability of buildings. We also released the Cap the Credit report, which lays out steps to strengthen implementation of Local Law 97 or the Climate Mobilization Act, which is designed to dramatically curb building emissions. For our report, our office conducted an analysis of over 23,000 buildings covered by the law in order to develop these recommendations, as DOB holds a hearing on proposed rules for implementation of the law set to take effect in 2024. Basically, the report calls for limiting the use of RECs, renewable energy credits, to 30% of a building's emissions overages in order to actually make this law effective. Otherwise, we'll just, create loopholes for housing owners, to get away with not complying. And yesterday, we also released several audits conducted by our Bureau of Audit with analysis of several city agencies to determine whether funds were expended or utilized efficiently and economically, and whether the desired goals, results, or benefits of these agency programs were achieved. We also released a popular annual financial report, which began in July 2021 and runs through June 2022. And it gives New Yorkers a layman's view and insight into the finances of the city of New York, including the state of the local economy and how public dollars are spent to provide city services. Some of those highlights include employment levels across New York City. We lost approximately 1 million jobs between February 2020 and April of that same year. And despite the employment's recovery in the city at the end of the 2021-2022 fiscal year, private employment remains almost 200,000 below pre-pandemic high.
Evan, sorry, you're just about at time. If you can, in 10 seconds, your last point.
Well, I will take the opportunity to invite you to our Housing Now conference taking place on December 15. This is a conference with a faith, through the lens of the faith communities. Is going to be on the 15th between 9 and 6 p.m. 9 to 2 p.m. will be on Zoom. 4 to 6 p.m. will be in person at the Harlem Congregations for Community Improvement at 256 West 153rd Street. I will populate the flyer with the information, but basically we'll have Comptroller Lander and faith leaders speak about the ongoing housing crisis in the city and how to address it. Thank you.
Okay, you have two hands and it's Wayne followed by Osi.
Hi, thank you. Evening, Evelyn. Concerning, I guess it's local law 97 and sustainability. I know you mentioned that the controller and others are focused on tightening up on the rules, but something that I raised with Councilmember Abreu and others is when we're looking at reducing emissions, a lot of the focus is on the electrification of buildings. And the question is, who is looking at the current capacity of the infrastructure? Who's working with Con Ed to make sure it can deliver the electricity that's needed to support the electrification of existing and new buildings? Because to put the rules in place, but not have the infrastructure to support it is a big mistake.
Yeah, so point well taken. The credit report, the credit report also addresses sustainability and sort of like what are the challenges that we have. I will be more than happy to have one of our housing policy experts come by the CB12 and present and have better and more detailed answers to all these issues as they know this issue in depth.
Osi, I see you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay, I have a question, actually, two. Local law 84 and 87. How are you promoting them? And can you provide with a data as to how many landlords are actually filing for the benchmarking and filing for energy audit whenever they have to?
I don't have information for you on the spot, but I'm more than happy to, get back to you. If you add the question in the chat, in the question room, I will follow up with an email. And please provide, your contact information.
Okay, I can't do it because I'm driving. So I wonder if you can leave your contact info with the office and I can contact you.
More than happy, I'll add it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Evelyn, for your report. Next up, we have Oliver from Councilmember Abreu's office.
Yes, hi, folks. So it's always a pleasure to be a part of these community board meetings, and just a few updates we have to start off with. On the legislative side, the mayor signed our bill last Friday into law, our rat action plan, a package of bills that will address our city's rat infestation by getting trash off our streets and establishing rat mitigation zones. And so if folks are concerned about a specific area where there are many rats, we can reach out to the Department of Health and they will establish a rat infestation. And so earlier this year, we introduced a bill to expedite sidewalk repairs around NYCHA buildings. However, that doesn't mean that we're waiting to make sure that every sidewalk has the improvement that they need. We just noticed that the specific areas and facilities have had inadequate sidewalks in the past. And so we hope to expedite those repairs. And so moving on to a few community updates, we just completed a sanitation tour along with the Department of Sanitation Commissioner, Jessica Tisch, to highlight some of the dirtiest areas in our community. As we may know, this is part of the crux of the rat infestation, and some of the particular spots are very much a hotbed for some of these rats. And so it's always a great action plan to have a sanitation tour, and so we hope to have those areas cleaned up. Moving on to participatory budgeting voting. Voting is coming soon, and so we now have the power to help decide what projects our city spends the money on. And so be on the lookout for some updates from our office about the projects on the ballot and how to vote on some of the favorite projects that you look forward to. So as far as, of course, we have our Thanksgiving holiday coming soon. We were very pleasant and surprised to see so many folks come to our district office and receive turkeys. And we hope that they can enjoy their meals with their families this coming holiday. As far as any other updates, you guys can always reach out to our district office. We're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5. If folks want to reach us on Fridays, we're always working as well virtually. We can set up appointments for any housing issues that you have, any specific issues that you need guidance with. We're always happy to help. Open to any questions.
Thank you, Oliver. I think I don't see any. Thanks for joining us again.
Awesome.
All right, next up, we have Lori Tobias Cohen from Congressman. Oh, I spoke too soon. Jumina has a question for you, Oliver.
Hey, good evening. I just wanted to bring it to the attention of Sean Abreu's office. If maybe, I'm not sure if I may be the first one, but has it been brought to your attention a case of Gilberto Garcia? He's a member of our community, our district, who was the 18th person to pass away, die in custody in Rikers Island. So I wanted to ask, has that been brought up to the attention of your office, as he's a member of District 9?
So I myself am familiar with the case. However, it wasn't something specifically brought up or discussed in our office. Obviously Rikers, we get a lot of calls regarding some of the horrible conditions, horrific conditions, and we've spoken to some of the CEOs at Rikers, and we've had discussions. As far as our deputy director of the office has had those discussions, and we're always happy to be the liaison for that discussion at any point. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. What was your name?
Jumirna Colbert.
Jumirna. Okay. Thank you for the question. If you want to reach out to us, you can always reach me out. It's Oliver Matanzas.
Thank you, Oliver.
Of course.
All right, thank you. And Lori, we're gonna go back to you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Good evening. It's not breaking news anymore, but as I'm sure most of you may be aware, and as is probably relevant for many, there are no payments due at this time with regard to the student loan litigation. Payments will resume by no later than June 30th, and there'll be a 60-day pause after whatever date is ultimately chosen when they need to resume. And during this time, the Biden administration will be working very, very, very hard to win this lawsuit so they can make good on their promise of relieving students of $10,000 or more of debt. Okay, so the other thing, this is time sensitive, this next item. Representative Espaillat seeks public suggestions for the songs of Latino artists to nominate for the National Recording Registry. The songs must be at least 10 years old, and submissions are due by November 26th. The way that you submit is you go to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus's National Recording Nominations page on their website, of course, or similarly to the Library of Congress. If you have any questions about this process, please give us a call in the office tomorrow. Congressman Espaillat and Senator Kristen Gillibrand, in recognizing that a decade has gone past since Superstorm Sandy, has introduced the Resilient Transit Act, that would last initially from 2023 through 2026. It would be an annual dedicated economic stream of $300 million. Knowing what we do about how Sandy crippled the New York City subway, leaving millions of New Yorkers without reliable transportation, as well as putting them in terrible, terrible peril when they were on the subways during that time. We can't wait, quoting Congressman Espaillat, we cannot wait until the next devastating storm to fix the weaknesses in our transit system. Our district and the world lost a tremendous leader with the death of Dr. Calvin O. Butts III, pastor of the Abyssinian Baptist Church, the oldest African-American church in New York State. Reverend Butts was a visionary who worked to revitalize Harlem by the creation of the Abyssinian Development Corporation, inspiring the establishment of the Thurgood Marshall Academy's upper and lower schools, and much, much more. May his memory serve for a blessing. And finally, it was a great honor for the congressman to be included in Speaker Pelosi's delegation to COP27, the UN's climate conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Prior to the conference, Congressman Espaillat participated in a memorandum to the president urging that climate change should be at the top of his agenda for his trip when he was in China. And one more thing, which is that we will be having our State of the District, and I look forward to getting you information about that through the good offices of Ebenezer.
Thank you so much, Lori. Next up, we have Madeline from our Assemblyman's office. Madeline McNamee.
Hi, sorry, was having a little technical difficulties. Good evening. My name is Madeline. I am the Director of Constituent Services for Manny de los Santos. Let me just pull up my notes, what he wanted me to convey to everyone. So we've given close to 1,000 turkeys to families throughout the district this holiday season. Through a number of distribution events we've hosted and co-sponsored, including one at the Y on 54 Nagle and Inwood, in partnership with Borough President Mark Levine, another one in Washington Heights at Fort George Presbyterian Church, the Caroline Apartments in Inwood, and we also joined distribution events with NIMIC, VNS Health, and other organizations. In addition, we have worked closely with and delivered turkeys to community groups, schools, and senior centers in our district. Schools include PS 115 and others, and senior centers including ARC Senior Center on 181st, Rain Senior Center in Inwood, and others. We're also hosting another turkey distribution tomorrow in partnership with Utopia Lounge for more residents to get access to turkeys during this time. It is a ticketed event and all the tickets have been distributed. We have been hosting 2 ongoing events, Manny on Your Block and the mobile office. We have, which have allowed the community to get to know the assembly member as well as connect with services in our office and around the area. Both will continue throughout the winter, even though they were outside events. The mobile office will be hosted in several indoor locations throughout the district, while Manny on Your Block will remain outdoors. And from our office, this is like one last final point that I really want to make. We are still receiving reports on that SNAP fraud that was reported last meeting. It's still going on. And so we are monitoring the situation very closely. Don't hesitate to send anyone that is experiencing this fraud to our district office at 210 Sherman Avenue for more information and assistance. And a future event that I would like to highlight is we do have a mammogram bus coming December 28th. It's from 9 a.m. to 4:30, so almost all day, in front of our district office, which is again at 210 Sherman Avenue. And I welcome any questions.
I don't see any questions up.
No hands?
No hands. Thank you. Thank you for your report.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Likewise. Next up is Porfirio from the Manhattan Borough President's Office. Porfirio, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Alessandro. First, I want to take a moment to congratulate the Columbia Dykeman Scholars. I can't tell you how proud our community is, and we do pray for your future. I also want to thank Lori for mentioning Reverend Butts. He was truly a pillar in the community. For those of you who participated in the leadership training series, which was last week, the purpose of which was to provide tools and instruction and best practices to Manhattan Community Board members to learn a little more about the process of local government. And in community boards, thank you so much. It was a huge success, and we are having them again in the spring. We did take all the feedback that was given in the chats and that was shared with us. And we will implement those changes. We are still taking coats for coat drive at both our offices, 1 Center Street and at 431 West 125th Street. We do ask that please, whatever you bring, be in the condition that can be given away. And if you are going to bring anything like underwear, t-shirts, socks, diapers, especially those first things mentioned, they should be new and packaged. A few things and proposals and initiatives of the office. The Manhattan Borough President has called for the creation of a new city agency that would have jurisdiction over the waterfront and thereby streamline coastal resiliency projects and provide accountability for the use of their budgets. It would allow for one agency in New York City to answer for these projects to our community. I did mention at the last meeting that we also created a e-commerce blueprint report to identify 4 overarching goals to accompanying policy recommendations to make e-commerce package delivery more efficient, sustainable, and safer in Manhattan and throughout the city. And that actual animated video can be found on our website if you want to see it. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. The Manhattan Borough President has gathered the support of all 5 borough presidents in support of the Let's Plan $1 million trees initiative throughout the city of New York so that we plant 1 million trees by the year 2030. We are asking for the support of all community boards in the form of a resolution to support this initiative moving forward. We handed and distributed hundreds of turkeys and coats over the course of last week, and will be continuing to do so. We also wanted to mention that the mayor has extended the executive order so that meetings can be on Zoom all the way through December 20th. And in terms of past legislation, I want to mention public bathrooms intro 258 that would require the city to study and identify 1 location for a public bathroom in every zip code. As far as the rat mitigation legislation that was mentioned earlier, that would require intro 442 would require a licensed exterminator to be retained before permanent authorizing certain construction work could be issued. It will further require a licensed exterminator to treat the construction site for rodent abatement. Reminding everyone, COVID is not over. Please get your flu shot, get your COVID shot. And with Thanksgiving coming, I also want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I want to also mention, we do have constituent services at our Northern Manhattan office, and you can call 212-531-1609. Last, I did forward a flyer. We do have budget request training for both CAP projects and also for schools. If you please, I'm going to ask that Ebenezer distribute that again to the community board members. Yes, I stand with questions.
Thank you very much, Porfirio. Thank you very much for Porfirio. There's a hand up. Was that Steve
Sure.
Simon?
Yes, Porfirio, I want to thank you for mentioning and recommending that people get their COVID shots, because COVID, as you mentioned, is not over. And our community in Washington Heights and Inwood is, as I've mentioned in almost every single meeting, is lagging behind the rest of Manhattan and the rest of the city in terms of the percentages of people who have had at least one dose, have had a full series, and we're way behind on the numbers of people who have gone ahead and gotten booster doses, something that Mark Levine has mentioned time and again. But I don't think, I think we need to keep the keep this on the front burner. We have to keep reminding people that they should be getting their COVID shots, and we should be doing everything we can to encourage and to make it possible for people to get COVID shots as easily as possible. Let me ask you, with respect to the legislation you mentioned about requiring public bathrooms in each zip code, are the bathrooms in parks, do they qualify as under that legislation? Do they satisfy the requirement?
Well, one of the things I do know, one of the things that the borough president has called upon is for anyone, all the culture and parks committees to be part of that conversation. So I would probably suggest, especially if there's already a project going on, that push be part of activism on the part of the committee in combination with parks.
I'm sorry, was that in regard to the COVID shots?
No, that was in regard to your question about the public bathrooms. So, yeah. So to do that in tandem with the committees in each community board.
Okay.
In terms of identifying locations and or using any projects within parks that are already in the process. I hope that answered the question.
But the public bathrooms that already exist in parks, do they not qualify as under this legislation as public bathrooms?
Yes, they do. However, for those that, but you're talking about, we were to also improve. So, and so I understood that was the question that you were asking.
No, but I'm happy to discuss that as well, but not right now. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for your.
Fantastic. You could always reach out to me. You know that.
Of course. Yes.
There's another hand up.
Yes, hi, Porfirio. It's Wayne Benjamin. Concerning,
Hi, Wayne.
I guess, the rodent abatement for construction sites, there are already building department requirements for that. So what is being proposed? What is going to change and why?
Well, this would require that every construction project actually have and hire a licensed exterminator to be retained during the entire project. There are often developers who cut short corners and don't really abide by that. So the legislation 442 would ensure that a required licensed exterminator be hired to treat the construction site for road abatement during the entire project.
Okay, so just for clarification, because you mentioned that some developers cut corners. And I guess the question is, are they cutting corners, or does the building department currently require abatement during the initial excavation, but not the entire duration? And is the improvement to require abatement during the entire construction duration?
I don't have that answer right at hand, but I could definitely get that through for you, and
yeah,
or we could
I
arrange
think
a call
that might
with
be the difference. I think that building department may not require it for the entire duration, just during excavation.
Well, this bill would require it during the entire project.
Right. No, I said that would be an improvement, but I just wanted to clarify. It may not be that builders and developers are not complying. They may be complying with a rule that does not require it for the entire construction duration, just for excavation when you're digging up the ground.
Yeah. So thank you, Wayne. Any other questions?
Thank you, Porfirio. I think that you've answered just about
I
every
thought
question and
Evelyn's
you have some homework.
No,
not-
always ready and able.
Not a question for you, Porfirio, but I do want to echo the congratulations to the Columbia scholars. As a Columbia alumni myself and longtime Inwood resident and Dominican, I'm really proud of this program and what it's doing for our young people in, uptown. And I also want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you, elected officials that truly represent our districts and our community in a way in which we all should be proud of you guys. Porfirio, if I don't see you, and Evelyn and the rest of you, happy holidays, or rather, happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, to
You
all
guys.
of you.
Beautiful. So before we go to public session, I would like to bring again our friend Darrell, who will be going through the list of all the people that are eligible to run. So go ahead, Darrell.
Great. Is this, oh, it is on. Great. And while they're pulling up the list of eligible board members for offices, I just want to quickly thank Robin for helping find the list. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Nobles Crawford and Jim Berlin for technical assistance in all this process. So now the list is on the screen and we're going to go to nominations from the floor, and we'll start with Assistant Secretary. Does anyone have a nomination? I guess raise your hand. And if you're in the room, shout it out or raise your hand as well. That's it there. And you'll see like my name and the committee members' names above. Those are just who everyone called. So you can ignore the names in the that are bolded and underlined. It's just those below each one.
To take names or?
Yes, I'm ready. Are there
I think
any
the first
hands
hand
raised for
was-
Assistant
Yes,
Secretary?
I have my hand raised.
Yeah, we see.
Is that Liz?
Domingo, I think it was first and then Liz.
I will nominate Jomina Alcobal for Assistant Secretary.
You beat me to it.
Is she here?
Great minds
Well,
think
no, is
alike.
she here? She has to accept. Yeah.
I accept.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Thank you for your nomination.
Excellent.
I like to.
And by the way, for those who are virtual, we only see if you're on screen. So if you're off, that's why we don't see you. Sorry about that. Any other nominations for Assistant Secretary before we close? Seeing none, hearing none. We're closed. For Secretary, any nominations from the floor? I see a hand, Eleazar. I don't think he's eligible. He's on the nomination committee. Yeah, if the name is in bold and underlined, that's just a nominations committee member. Sorry about that. Yeah. Any nominations from the floor for Secretary? Liz.
I'd like to nominate Bruce Robertson.
Bruce, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Thank you, Liz, but I respectfully decline.
Thank you.
Boo.
And just to clarify, if folks don't understand exactly the nature of this role, if no one is nominated for secretary, the assistant secretary automatically becomes secretary. That's correct, right? Yeah, thank you. I see Joel.
So I have a quick question. If no position is filled, can the prospective chair nominate a secretary?
No.
Oh,
Jim?
no.
Okay, thank you.
That's the short answer, sorry. Leo?
Yeah, I nominate Marie Hernandez for secretary.
Maria Hernandez?
Marie Hernandez.
Is she here? Does she accept?
Yes, I am. I'll accept it. Thank you, Leo, for the nomination.
Oh,
I think we have a good one in our hands.
Marie. Great, thank you. Are there any other nominations for the floor for secretary? Going once, going twice. Great, that is closed. Thank you. Treasurer. Do we have any nominations from the floor for treasurer?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I see two hands, Joelle and Leo. I don't know if those are old hands or new hands.
No, mine's a new hand.
Okay, Liz, go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Tanya Bonner.
Tanya, do you accept?
I decline, but I would also like to just throw a shout out to Sally Fisher, who was in ill health. Just a shout out to her service as treasurer for this time past year. And I unfortunately cannot serve. I don't feel this board is a safe space for African American women in leadership over my years of experience here and how I've been treated. So thank you, Liz, but I respectfully decline.
I second that.
Great, thank you. Are there any other nominations from the floor for treasurer?
Yes.
I see Joelle.
I nominate Domingo Esteves for treasurer.
Domingo, he was here, right? Is he virtual or no?
I appreciate the nomination, Joel, but unfortunately, my time is very limited, and I'm gonna have to decline.
Thank you. I see Marielle Ali.
Thank you, Daryl. I'd like to nominate Michelle Lee for treasurer.
Michelle Lee, are you there? Will you accept? Is she on the, is she there?
Can't see her. She's not there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Marielle. She doesn't appear to be here today. And without that.
Okay.
No, you can have her pending and you can reach out to her after the meeting. And if she accepts, then she's nominated. And if she declines, then she's not. But she doesn't need to be here to accept. You can check with her after the meeting. That's how we've done it in the past.
Okay, I will leave her as pending then.
I have a further nomination for treasurer.
Oh, hold on a sec. There was one in the room.
Cool.
Eleazar.
Mariel Ali.
I second that nomination.
Where's Jim?
It doesn't need to be seconded. Either the person accepts or the person doesn't accept. And again, if they're not here, it can be pending and then you follow up with.
I
them.
understand that. The issue is my understanding of the bylaws regarding nominations is that someone has to be on the board for the last 12 consecutive months, not
They have
total.
to have, no, the bylaws state they have to have been on the board for a year. It doesn't actually say consecutive last 12 months. I believe it says for a year, and she was on the board for a year.
It says 12 consecutive.
I mean, she was on the board for 12 consecutive months.
Let me get a ruling from the parliamentarian who's not in the room at the moment, but we'll put a pin in that and move on. Liz, I believe you were next.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate OC.
Oh, Say that again, Liz.
I'd like to nominate OC for treasurer.
OC, do you accept?
Thank you, but I decline.
And Marielle, would you accept if you are eligible?
Can I get back to you?
Okay, so we're pending on both ends. That's fine.
Thank you.
Was there anyone else, any other nominations from the floor before moving on? And we'll leave that temporarily open until we find the ruling. Yeah. Now we'll go to second vice chair. Are there any nominations?
Yes,
Was that Liz?
yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Emily Marte.
Emily, do you accept? She's not.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the nomination. I will respectfully turn it down until I learn how to be a co-chair better. Thank you.
Thank you for your candidness. Yeah. I see Eleazar.
I'd like to nominate Fe Florimon for second vice chair.
Faye Florimon. Do you accept for second vice chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I respectfully decline.
Thank you. Any other nominations for second vice chair?
Yeah, I got my hand up. I would like to nominate CB Hernandez.
She accepted a nomination for secretary.
If I can decline the secretary and accept this one, I'll be fine to do that.
Oh, but
I'm
then
not
we won't have a secretary.
I think you have an
Did you talk to
assistant, so
Jamima
we'll be
about
okay.
that?
I think Jamina got it. Yeah.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, Samadi, you're turning down secretary and you want to put your name in for second vice chair.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other nominations? No. And now we'll move on to first vice chair. We do have a candidate, Angel Vasquez. Are there any other nominations from the floor for the first vice chair role? I see hands from Joel and Domingo. Are those old hands? And Mariella.
Old hands.
Mariella.
I'll lower my hand. Sorry about that.
Is that Marielle? No, OC, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Aisha Ogilvy.
Aisha Ogilvy for first vice chair. Aisha, do you accept?
Can I get back to you? I want to give it some thought.
Sure. We only have a few more minutes, just FYI. Marielle?
Thanks, Daryl. My hand was actually for second vice chair, and I think you missed it. Can I still put forward a name?
Yeah, sure.
Oh my God, is that your baby?
Yes, that is my baby.
Are you nominating the baby?
I'd like to, she may be ready, who knows? I'd like to nominate Nobles Crawford. Thank you for second vice chair.
Nobles Crawford. Do you accept? I don't believe he's in the meeting, but I can. He was traveling, I know that, but yeah. Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. He was called. He said he's not interested in anything.
Okay,
And he was
thank you.
rather insistent. I think. Miriam, yeah, we're gonna get to that. One sec. Okay. Are there any other nominations for first vice chair? And now we'll move on to chair. We have Catherine Diaz, is a candidate from the nominations committee. Are there any other nominations from the floor? I see no hands in the room or virtual. Okay. Oh, I see a name. Joel?
Can I nominate someone for treasurer? Or am I too late?
Sure, if you want. I mean, we're kind of keeping you open.
It's Isidro, excuse me, Isidro Medina.
Questions are closed.
He declines. He's in the room. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
He thanks you. Any other nominations?
What position are we on right now?
Chair, but we can go back. We still, so now the secretary role is also vacant again. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. But we do have an assistant secretary. So.
Well,
So if folks could
the assistant secretary is technically not standing for the office of secretary. The assistant secretary is still standing for the office of assistant secretary. Should we wind up having the elections in December and no secretary is elected, then she automatically becomes the secretary, but we can still nominate someone for secretary.
Yep. Okay. Wrapping up. Just a few more things. Jim is checking on one thing. And I know that deals with Marielle, but Aisha, your name was mentioned and you said you were deciding. Did you have a decision?
For the text that I'm receiving from some fellow board members, I accept.
You accept for first vice chair. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have Angel Vasquez and Aisha Ogilvy. Anyone else? Faye, your hand is up.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I would like to nominate Jacob Vanas for treasurer.
I'm flattered but ineligible. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
But I hope you're seriously giving something thought for next year, Jacob. And yes, now we're going to hear from our parliamentarian.
The requirement for election to office, number 4. The person must have been a member of the board for 1 calendar year. Those are the words in the bylaws.
Well, Marielle Ali was a member of the board for 1
So-
calendar year, just not immediately prior. So there's nothing in the bylaws that excludes her, as I said.
So unfortunately, given our bylaws, she is excluded from
Wait,
that.
why? The
that's
bylaws
not-
state-
Liz, this is not your decision to make.
Could this
It's
be a
not
meeting that
yours
goes
either,
offline?
though. It is a, it's a. it's
Actually, I am
bylaw
chairing the meeting at the
interpretation.
moment, so yes,
That
it
doesn't
is.
make you the sole interpreter.
And this conversation was
I wanna
also
put a
had
motion on the
prior to
floor.
this,
I
not
wanna put a
just
motion on the
specifically
floor
about
to investigate
Marielle, but though
the
there are others in her.
terminology in the bylaws.
I
and
don't
what
understand
exactly it
what
means, not what one board member is deciding it means.
that.
Yeah, there's no back and forth. We gotta
Yeah.
continue the formality of this meeting. So. as
The
chair,
I do not
and
I
make the
object to
rules.
Marielle being
Here's how,
excluded.
mute everyone. Here's how it's gonna go down. You say your piece, she rebutes it, 1 chance, and then the parliamentarian will give the final say. Go ahead.
Yeah, my understanding again with the bylaws, that my dear friend, unfortunately, Marielle is not eligible at this time.
I
So
have my
thank you.
hand raised.
Go ahead, Liz.
So Article 803 says, the following criteria will apply to candidates for all elected board offices. These criteria will apply to nominations from the nominating committee as well as nominations from the floor. In the last 12 months, the prospective candidate must have been a member of the board for 1 calendar year. So there was a point during the last 12 months when Marielle had been a member for 1 calendar year. The bylaws do not say.
Excuse me, one moment, Liz.
Excuse me,
I just want to be clear, Liz. I want to be clear on a definition.
Excuse me, I have the floor.
Actually,
And you are
I
welcome,
do.
you are welcome to disagree with
Actually, I
me.
do, Liz.
But you are not
Liz, I
welcome
just
to
want to be
interrupt me.
clear if you let me speak. I want to be clear on a definition. No, she does not.
No, he's chairing the meeting. He's chairing the meeting.
That
He has
doesn't
the
mean
I
floor.
am chairing the meeting,
He has the
and
floor.
I just want to be clear with you,
Just
Liz.
mute everyone.
We say calendar year, and I want a definition of that. And my definition of that is 2022, 2021, not 12 consecutive months standing alone. So when you say calendar year, I just want to be clear what we're talking about. That is why I interrupted. Okay, I'm sorry. You're muted.
I hear you. I appreciate your comments, and you will observe that I waited until you were finished making them to comment further. That said, I have the floor, and while you are welcome to disagree with me, you are not welcome to interrupt me, even though you are chairing this portion of the meeting. So respectfully, I'm going to back, you are doing it again. I love you,
not me.
Carol. You are a friend. I will not be interrupted. So from the top, the bylaws state, in the last 12 months, the prospective candidate must have been a member of the board for 1 calendar year. It does not, the bylaws do not say for the entirety of the last 12 months. The bylaws state in the last 12 months. So at some point, if in the last 12 months, said candidate had been a member for 1 calendar year, then that person would qualify.
Yeah.
So prior to her removal or prior to her non-reappointment, so for the month of January, February, March, April, and most of May of 2022, Marielle Ali had been a member of the board for 1 calendar year, for the calendar year of 2020 and for the calendar year of 2021. So irrespective of how you define a calendar year,
30
even
seconds.
taking as your definition that a calendar year is the totality from January 1st to December 31st of the prior year, during January, February, March, and April
becoming
of
redundant.
this year,
Liz, time.
so she
In 3
qualifies
minutes.
according to our bylaws.
That's time.
There's other people
And
that want to talk. It's becoming redundant.
there are two other hands real quick. Is this on the same topic for Leo and Joel? And then I'll let our
Yes.
parliamentarian respond.
Yes, Daryl, if I may, it's Leo. I want to first, with all due respect to Maria Lee, and she knows that I'm a huge fan of her as I started my my term with the board, same time she did. Part of the bylaws says that she has to have attended at least 2/3 of the general board meetings, 2/3 of committee meetings, and punctuality. We know that Maria Lee is amazing with that, but because she left at some point of the year, she only had 5 months in. That doesn't equate to the 2/3 that the bylaw requires. So again, I was one that put the nomination for Maria Lee as well, but with the bylaws, it doesn't. She won't qualify.
Joel, do you want to go real quick? And then I see Marielle actually raised her hand as well.
Just really quickly, it's implied that it has to be in the previous 12 months. So if she started sometime in May, I'm assuming, it can't be 12 months since we're in December. It's implied that it has to be 12 months. So I'm sorry, I've never met you, Maria Lee, but I don't think she qualifies, just in my opinion.
Well, I can attest that she's wonderful, but anyway, now that Marielle has raised her hand, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you, everyone. I mean, I think this clearly points to a need for us to update our bylaws. That's one point, and so I'm glad that that's happening. And so I think I don't recall who spoke before Leo, but I joined the board in May 2020 is when I joined the board, not May this year. So that just wanted to clarify that and put it on the record. Yeah, I guess I'll wait to hear from our parliamentarian for the final say. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to our parliamentarian, Jim Berlin.
Thank you. The bylaws are a little bit inconsistent. Let's just read what they say, because they sort of could make more sense. It says, in the last 12 months, the prospective candidate must have been a member of the board for 1 calendar year. Now, that sort of neither here nor there. What I'd like to do, and we can ideally resolve this tomorrow, is since the language is rather confusing, I think we will reach out to the Borough President's Council, and they will help us figure out what this, I mean, you may recall last year, we had to reach out to the then Borough President's Council because we had a difficulty in terms of how we would count the votes.
Are you
And I'm still talking, and that decision is still in force.
Grace comes.
So we need
in the middle of something.
Jim, you got to mute James, you got to mute yourself. Mute, James.
yeah, so basically we will reach out to the Borough President's Council, have a discussion with them, and try to figure out what this rather inconsistent language means. And so I think, and then based upon what this determination is made, we will get back to everyone, and either someone will be eligible or they won't be eligible. But I think that's the best way of handling it for now.
I can.
I just want to comment. While the discussion is a very, very robust debate, it is good to see everyone's participation. I do believe that Jim has the best solution for this. So by all means, please do put the question exactly as you want to pose it, and I will make sure that our legal counsel sees it.
Great, thank you. There are a couple other hands, Aisha and Steve. I mean, I think we're resolved on a plan for this, but if you have further comments, please, Aisha.
I just want to call the attention of the chair in regards to decorum when we're having our meetings. Doesn't matter who it is. If somebody has the floor, it's not for someone to say, well, I just wanted to say, and I just, it's a quick, no.
Is this a question about the nominations?
I'm sorry, I'm talking to the chair and I have a right.
I didn't know if you were talking to me because I'm chairing currently, or to.
Can we stop interrupting people, really?
Right now, you're doing it now. And you do it on Housing and Human Services as well.
I'm not on that committee, but thank you.
I just want to call the attention of the chair about decorum during our meetings. It's about respect, and it's about having a level playing field in our meetings. People should not be allowed to interrupt while others have the floor. Thank you.
Point taken. Richard Ullman, the last question.
Okay, Richard, and Steve has his hand up. Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
Comfortable with the process we've set up at this point. It seems appropriate, but I do want to comment for the record that it is very possible for the intent of the bylaws and the specific language to be going in slightly different directions. My understanding of the intent of the bylaws here is that people who are nominated for office should have substantial experience on the board. Everything I've heard and everything I've seen with my own eyes says that Marielle Ali meets those qualifications. And I hope that the Borough President's Council in reviewing this will look at the intent as in addition to the specific language. Thank you.
Steve Simon.
Yes, I want to second what Richard has just said. And frankly, I really don't feel a need to go to the borough president and ask for a ruling. I think it's pretty clear that the intent is to make sure that somebody has been on the board for at least a year. Marielle, as far as I'm concerned, satisfies that requirement. And especially when we're so desperate to have people running for office, I don't think we should be discouraging anyone who wishes to do so. So I would just go ahead and accept the nomination and let her run for office. I'm as far as I'm concerned, she has a year under her belt as a full-fledged member of the board.
Yeah,
she should be able to run.
I second
Thank
that.
you.
And since that's already a second, I third it.
Your hand's not up, but yeah, thank you. I see. So we do have a plan of action for this, as Jim outlined. And that's the final bit currently for the nominations committee in this part of the meeting. I do see 3 more hands: Domingo, Jay Baez, and Liz. So Domingo.
Yeah, so my question is more around like, so how does it work, right? Because she was here from 2020, but there was a big push to get her back into the board, and she just recently got back, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to figure that out. I mean, that's the $10,000 question. Yeah. Jay.
Yeah, sorry. That was new information that was just said that I didn't know about Marielle. Because I was gonna say I don't understand. I wasn't understanding why she didn't qualify, but then yes, that does make it a trickier situation.
Okay. We have Liz and then Richard Allman, and then we're done.
Thank you for recognizing me again. I just want to say that I've been on the board for a very long time, and I regard myself as the 3rd most senior person on the board because both Maria and Jim have been on the board longer than I have been. But there was a brief period of time where inexplicably Jim was not reappointed, and then shortly after not being reappointed, he was appointed by a different appointing member. He wasn't reappointed by, I think, whichever council member had appointed him, and then he wound up being appointed, I think, by the borough president. I'm not really sure. My point here is, despite the fact that there was a short period of time during which Jim was not on the community board, I still think of his tenure on the community board as being unbroken, and that his tenure on the board spans in an uninterrupted way back to, the 70s when he first came onto the board. So I'm guessing he agrees with me. And if so, that has implications for this conversation we're having here right now. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost connection, but I got that.
Well, we'll hear from the man's own mouth. Jim, you want to respond to that?
As I mentioned, and by the way, my understanding of what happened to me actually did cause a break in my tenure. And therefore, although I've been on this board, I think 42 years, if you wanted to give me an award, that 42 years actually has a break in it. So that's one complication. As I pointed out, this is a very complicated situation. The language in the bylaws is somewhat contradictory. It may even make no sense because I don't know. Well, anyway, we'll leave that out. So there's the contradictory language. And then there's the complicated appointment history of the individual involved. So let me be slightly more specific about what I'm suggesting. And it obviously involves the counsel to the borough president. I think it would be good if there were number one, we will gather all the facts. We will have the exact text from the bylaws available. We will have the exact appointment attendance records of the individual in question available. And then it might be appropriate actually for there to be a discussion, as we've had in the past, among the Borough President's Council, myself, and our chair, Mr. Bueno. And ideally, that conversation will take place tomorrow. And between the three of us, we will figure out what all this contradictory stuff means. And we will proceed from there.
And I think Domingo said something. I didn't hear what you said exactly. And then Emily will have the last word.
All right. No, because it was just a little. I think it was like I came in when Liz was speaking because I lost connection. But it was around that. So it's like because like I'm just trying to figure this all out the same way y'all are. But Mariela has been doing great work in the housing committee. But I also feel like it's also important to understand like what type of presidents we create as well. So it's like there was a lapse in the assignment, right? And a board member had to leave in order for her to even be reinstated. So it's like I'm trying to get clarity on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that mean? That's all it is.
Yeah. Thank you. And we hope to get that clarity in the next 24 hours. And then last, Emily.
Hi, everyone. So I have a question in regards to like, let's say to me, it's clear that in the bylaws, 1 calendar year is 1 year, but then the person, like, let's say you, Daryl, you're like, well, it has to be like this particular year. Is it because you're chair that you could do that? Or is it because, or like, it's just 1 year? Like, to me, it's 1 year. So I don't know like where all this confusion is coming from. If like 1 calendar year is like 12 months, or like you could start saying like, oh, well, there was a break, so it's not consistent, and it doesn't really say consistent. So it's like we're starting to interpret it like art in our own way. So to me, I just feel like 1 calendar year sounds super like, like simple and not complex, and that we're making it complex. So I do hope that like in the next meeting, we have this on the agenda item, or however it goes, to like do this whole bylaws like revamp, because it seems like I'm not sure if this happens often, but it would be nice to like have something that would be easy to digest. I haven't even gotten through it, and I joined almost a year ago, or I think a year ago. So I think that's just really important. And then another second, a second question is, let's say that you're appointed now and you don't accept it and it's still vacant. Can you still like take it on later on if it's still vacant? The position?
You mean if no one fills it and?
Yeah.
The bylaws specify that under normal circumstances, the nomination process ends tonight. However, if there's an office with no one running for it, the nominations will be opened again at the December meeting for any additional nominations. Those words are in the bylaw and they actually don't contradict themselves.
And it can't happen like in the middle of the year. Like it can't be like it's empty now, so then you change your mind and you're like, okay, cool, I'll just take it if nobody will.
5 people on the public.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Could you, and again, we're having trouble hearing.
Yeah, I meant to say like, let's say you said that it has to happen every December when there's a nomination, but if
No,
it's
that's not what I said. I said if this December we have an office that nobody's running for,
Mhm.
then we will open nominations for that office this December. Normally, we have a full slate in November, and therefore there is no need for additional nominations in December. But since we have the possibility that there will be an office that no one is running for, in that case, we will open nominations in December. I hope that was helpful.
Okay, thank you.
And just to your earlier point too, to let everyone know, the committee, myself, conferred with the past chair, conferred with the parliamentarian on a lot of these issues. These are not like happening on the fly right now. And then I would also just put a quick plug in that folks come to the bylaws committee meeting next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. We have a continuous discussion on these issues. So we're gonna try and get an answer tomorrow. Jim, you have your hands full. So now we're gonna go to public session. We're trying to, Mike, thank you. Your technicians are wonderful. Your sound tech guy, your technology guy for being here. Thank you. We're gonna try to speed up the process of it. Thanks. Alberto Aquino, Andrea Belfast, Ms. Besan, Luis David, and Terry Miller, thus far. Mr. Aquino, you're up next.
Okay, he's up.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Alberto Aquino. I am the Director of Youth Programming at the Armory Track and Field on 168th Street. Thank you so much for the time. I'm just here just to give some quick updates, announcements. On Halloween, we had our Uptown Games, our annual event for the community. We were able to welcome 500 children and their families. We gave out jackets and books and lots of treats, and we had an afternoon of fun on the track. But the big thing that I really am over here for today is to ask for your help. We have an after-school program that runs twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, for kids 6 to 14 years old. It's a free program. We have coaches who are phenomenal, who take the kids through drills, stretches, and activities. The program is free, and anybody can sign up anytime. They can come on the day of and sign up on the track. If you have any kids who are looking to get some exercise, please send them to the Armory. We are really so glad that we've had over 500 kids sign up for the program. About 250 kids show up for each session. So we have a really exciting program right now. We're also having a seniors program where people who are 60 and up are getting some exercise at the Armory. And we have our regular high school programming where we have kids helping them through the high school application process. I'm sorry, the college application process. So a lot of fun, exciting things happening at the Armory. I'm always welcome to I encourage everybody to come stop by if you're ever looking to learn more about what we're doing. We're here to answer any questions. That's all.
Thank you, Albert. It's a long time not here.
Well, this is very cool. I like that you guys are doing the hybrid thing. This is awesome. I have an infant, so this is really helpful for me. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
The next one up is Andrea Belfast.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, perfect. Good evening, community board members. My name is Andrea Belfast. Today, I would like to discuss the topic of food waste with you, how it's affecting our environment, and how we can help surrounding communities in need who depend on food donation programs. Did you know that each year New York City sends 4 million tons of waste to landfill, with approximately a third contributing to food waste? Yet we know that most of uneaten commercial food is thrown out due to retail standards for color or appearance, or policies which instruct staff to throw away food after each closing shift. Standards such as these contribute to nearly 40% of all food wasted in America, equating to approximately $408 billion in food thrown away each year. Majority of this waste is in the form of fruits and vegetables, accounting for 63%. Unfortunately, there's currently no bill in New York City that looks at decreasing food waste and donating excess food. That is where Bill INT 0491-2022 would come into action. It would require the Department of Sanitation and the Department of Consumer Affairs to establish a food donation program where food service establishments could have civil penalties for eligible violations waived if they agree to donate their excess food. Research shows that if 5% of New York City's largest restaurants diverted half of their food waste, the city would reduce landfill commercial food waste by 14%, leading to a direct impact on lowering production of harmful greenhouse gases such as methane. In addition, if more organizations such as grocery stores participated in the food donation program, then community partnerships could be developed to directly help those in need. Confronting food waste in New York City is a challenge, but through the implementation of this bill, we can help those in need while making a positive impact on the environment. I am urging for this board's support for the passing of Bill INT 0491. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen about this important issue.
I have a question.
Hi, sure.
Thank you.
Would the Department of Education be subject to this bill? Because the Department of Education throws out more food than anybody in the form of school breakfasts and school lunches that don't get served. I mean, I don't want to get into like a discussion about it, but I'm just, is DOE subject to this, or would this law only apply to, you know, catering services and private restaurants?
Currently, the bill that is right now presented to the committee, it is only involving these two departments, but we could make a suggestion to incorporate the Department of Education as well.
No. I think you didn't understand my question. I'm not suggesting that the Department of Education, I'm suggesting that the Department of Education be subject to the bill in the same way that restaurants and catering services are subject to the bill, because the Department of Education is a purveyor of food. The Department of Education is the largest single purveyor of food in the city of New York. And as such, they are the largest single contributor of food to the city's waste stream. So any legislation that's looking to interrupt the flow of food into the waste stream by looking at people who are serving food, should by definition look at the Department of Education because they serve food.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I understand your comment there. I would have to look back into the bill to see exactly how that could be incorporated.
Cool. Who's the sponsor?
Thank you.
The prime sponsor for this bill right now is Julie Menon, and there are 3 other sponsors as well.
Cool. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you very much.
you.
Who's our next person? Rifa?
So sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your very informative report. Rifa? Hopefully I'm saying your name right.
I'm sorry, I had one quick question, or maybe.
Emily, if you could save it, I think for the sake of time, I'd like to move on to the next person on the public session.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, my name is Rifa Hassan, and today, my colleague David and I wanted to talk to you guys about the issue of food insecurity. More specifically, we wanted to talk about an emergency food plan for students. So before COVID-19, approximately 1.2 million New Yorkers were experiencing food insecurity, which included 1 in 5 children. The COVID pandemic only further intensified that struggle, with now approximately 1.5 million New Yorkers experiencing food insecurity, which includes 1 in 4 children. According to a Feeding America analysis, food insecurity in New York City has risen by 36% overall, and that increase has been 46% for children. And the COVID-19 pandemic serves as a great example of why we need food, school-provided meals for children. During the onset of the pandemic, as job and income instability increased and schools shut down, there was a significant number of students left without adequate access to food. So while the city did a great job just stepping in and setting up grab-and-go meals at schools, the city doesn't have a plan in place. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague David, who's going to talk about an emergency preparedness plan.
So, hi. One of the solutions to combat child food insecurity in our city can be found by passing Bill 416/2022, which will require that evaluations be made by the Mayor Office of Food Policy, the Department of Education, and the Office of Emergency Management to develop a proper food plan to be used when schools are ordered to close in a state of emergency like the COVID-19. This plan will focus on providing access to food services like breakfast, lunch, dinner to students, coordinate food donations from food businesses or providers who want to help feeding children, organize proper locations and shelters that are accessible to the population to provide the food, and create an adequate public communication media to ensure that the public is aware of the food served and the locations. This bill will ensure that in the event of an emergency or public health crisis that shuts the school down, like the COVID-19 pandemic, the students will be able to receive the meals they will normally receive in school and thus ensure the food security. So can we count on you guys to help us advocate with Bill 0416/2022 that will help prevent child food insecurity? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Terry Miller. Shit, I don't see Sherry Miller.
Hi, do you guys have any questions or comments?
Sherry Miller is.
No.
Yes, I am on here. I am on here.
Oh,
Somebody
Cheryl.
was somebody
Okay.
was speaking.
Go right
I wanted
ahead.
her to
Ms.
I wanted
Miller,
her to
go ahead.
finish. Yeah, I wasn't planning on speaking, but I felt that I had to speak because of what I heard earlier going on in this meeting. I have been a longtime community member. I've been living in this neighborhood for 16 years. I've attended a lot of general board meetings, committee meetings, and I have consistently seen the decorum of this chair, specifically the way that it speaks to Aisha and Tanya. This is a democracy, not a dictatorship. You do not conduct yourself in a way that's very discriminatory, specifically against Black women on this community board. I have complained about this community board and certain people on this community board to the Manhattan Borough President. As a member of this community board is for the community, not for self-serving and for your own agendas. I'm sorry. And this has got to stop. Hopefully, in the next year, the new chair will conduct these meetings with better decorum than what I have seen coming from this chair.
Thank you. So that ends our public session for today. Thank you for all of you who took the time to participate, and we certainly ponder and appreciate your comments coming from any source and whatever opinions you may have. So moving along, we are going to have the next
I'm sorry.
resolution.
I'm so sorry, Eliezer. I know that, but I still had like a question or a
Emily,
comment.
if you may, I'm gonna move the meeting along, and then we'll get around to your report and you can mention it then.
But then nobody will be here
The
to
Traffic and
listen.
Transportation Chair, Debbie, are you with us?
Prove that should be allowed to make her question. She's been asking like 3 different times.
Emily, I couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I could ask or comment now?
Yeah.
Okay, so in regards to the last couple comments, everyone's mentioning waste, and Mark Levine has already sent out newsletters that have to do with like sanitation and the new INT 442, I think, which has to do with the rat infestation. And I feel like there's all these different silos, but everyone should be on the same table talking about this. The last couple of presentations were on either food waste or hunger. And then we also have this rat bill. I call it the rat bill. I don't know what else to call it. And like, I just feel like everyone should be on the same table talking about this and composting, like, and food waste. So I really hope that everyone is actually in cohesion and that whoever just presented, because I already forgot their name, I was trying to say the question right after. If they're like in conversation with Mark Levine and this rap bill that's going on, because in that rap bill, they're talking about waste management and like how restaurants do XYZ and how to better like not waste food. He just sent it out in his newsletter and I just read it this morning. So I just feel like there's, I hope everyone is in conversation about this and that it does get solved, because it's been an issue that's been going on forever. And that nobody should be hungry, and there also our waste management is trash, pun intended. And like, I hope that everything gets solved. That's it.
Thank you, Emily. Sorry, I wasn't hearing you. I think you're gonna respond to that, Porfirio.
Well, I want to thank Emily for mentioning that. However, I would urge everyone, as she has signed up for our newsletter, to do that, because there's so much coming out of our office that it's difficult to do it in a community board report. However, the Manhattan Board President has called upon the city to enact a composting program very similar to a very successful one that is happening in Queens. So I urge you all, as I said earlier, to go to our website and to sign up for our newsletter so that you can get news on all these things. Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Porfirio. Debbie, I'm gonna make a presentation on your resolution on the Washington Bridge Improvement Project, if you will.
Thank you, Eli. We're presenting tonight improvements on the Washington Bridge. So that bridge which connects 181st in Amsterdam to the Bronx on the other side. Something we heard a bit about on committee while emergency repairs were made over 2 years, primarily during the pandemic on the Washington Bridge, was why weren't we taking the opportunity to put in a bike lane and fix the situation for pedestrians and bike lanes, which was pretty awful. And the reason was because there was an emergency repair. And so that they couldn't scope in other design work. And now DOT has come to the board with a proposal for redesign on the bridge to address the fact that currently there's 2 really narrow sidewalks, one on each direction, that's for everybody, strollers, bikes, pedestrians, everybody. And so it's really unsafe. It's kind of chaotic. Sometimes bikes choose to just get in the car lane and truck lane and ride there because they can't get through on the sidewalks. The way that the DOT is proposing to achieve this is to, actually, I should say there's also this concept of a bus lane. So there will be now, it's 3 lanes each way. So the proposal is to put a bus lane going eastbound with 1 lane on the eastbound side and take 1 lane on the westbound side and create a protected bike lane and then leave the pedestrians to have what they've always had, which was the sidewalk. The bike lane would be 2-direction protected. It would land it would come out at McNally Plaza, then come up a block of Laurel Terrace and hits just about at 182nd in Amsterdam. So just a little bit north of the bridge. I should say that there was a petition with over 2,500 people, I think, signed about connectivity between over the Harlem River for bicycles. There was also a September 14th letter signed by the Manhattan Borough President, the Bronx Borough President, Carmen de la Rosa in Council District 10, Althea Stevens, council member in District 16, all asking DOT to evaluate the bus and bike connections over the Washington Bridge, and saying that that infrastructure investments that encourage people to take buses and that make cycling safer must be, quote, must be the highest priority. And I guess one interesting feature about this, or not feature, but just more reason than we usually have in terms of a little proof of concept, is that when the emergency work was happening, it was 2 lanes each way, and actually it all flowed okay. So they know that like it'll work with 2 lanes each way rather than 3 lanes each way, because we actually saw it work while they were doing this major bridge repair. One negative in what's otherwise was a very good proposal was we are going to lose 20 spots approximately on Laurel Hill Terrace, so that one block that they just have to traverse to get people to Amsterdam. And so you will see in the resolved both approval of the concept writ large and a request that DOT makes the effort to try to claw back some of those spots elsewhere in the vicinity, as many as like can be identified if possible.
Debbie, you have one hand up.
I can see. Joseph?
Yes, hi. It's hard to see or visualize without a rendering. But so I'm not exactly sure what it would look like, but this is my backyard, so I know the area very well. Why must you remove the parking spots? Why can't it just come out onto the street on 182nd Street? It's not going to be so heavily trafficked by bikes, I don't think. Why do you have to make a lane going up to Amsterdam? Just parking is really, really bad over there.
Yeah.
So I just don't know the necessity.
I can certainly share the pictures if that helps.
It would help
Offline, but my understanding just of the width and the need for the because you'd have like pedestrians coming out that way and the bikes, was that even though they were going to use some of the sidewalk, that it still required them to take parking on one side.
Well, the other question is why maybe you use the other side of the highway. Why does it have to be on that side, entering out to 182nd Street? Why can't the bike lane be on the right side of 181st Street? Oh, because you have traffic there.
Right, and because it really made a
right turn.
Heck of a lot more sense to have the bus lane on that side, unfortunately. But
Okay, if you could share with me again, it doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to get too much further in terms of getting support on this, but 20 spots is a lot of spots.
It's a
on
lot
Laurel
of
Terrace, and I just don't see. I go on that bridge a lot, walking, running. I just don't see it's going to be hundreds of bikes every hour that we need to have a dedicated lane over there to get them safely back onto Amsterdam. It's a wide sidewalk. There's plenty of room for pedestrians. I don't know. It's hard. For me to
it's just bikes aren't supposed to be on the sidewalk.
No,
so
for
you're
the
not going to
pedestrians.
find it in a DOT.
It's hard for me to
rendering.
visualize, but I'd be wary of doing this and losing 20 spots. I just would be.
Thank you,
I mean,
Rabbi.
I'm
Debbie,
hearing that.
Sorry, Debbie, it's Leo. If I may just.
All right, hang on a second, Leo. Did you raise your hand? I didn't see you.
No. I just wanted to kind of give support to Debbie's statement with the proposal. We had an outstanding support from the bike community, and they discussed how it was a huge safety hazard and for pedestrians and for bike riders alike. So this is partially the reason that we are proposing and hopefully moving on with this resolution. It's for the safety of both pedestrians and the bike riders.
All right, I want to hear James.
Thank you. As a cyclist who does use that bridge and also Amsterdam Avenue, that whole area is treacherous for bikes, crossing all of those exits off of the bridge, off of the highways. It's a nightmare for cyclists. So anything that could be done to provide a little safety for cyclists and pedestrians coming off that bridge, I think it's worth a couple of parking spaces. More than a couple, I realize. Thank you.
I mean, I should add that, you know, the issues of the lack of safe connectivity between Manhattan and the Bronx are big. And there has been a lot of advocacy, particularly around the Harlem River, again, from our elected officials, from transportation alternatives, which had, again, this was thousands of people signed this up. And I have to say, we had a huge crowd, you know, for our committee. And to a person just saying, like, this is our lives, like literally people who said, I got in the traffic lane. I mean, this is a traffic lane from the, you know, the cross, you know, of where the cars are, because I could not get through on the bike. And people that are commuting to go to Fordham, to go to, you know, just like, it was interesting to hear. And they were saying, like, you're putting our lives like behind a few parking spots. But I think I mean, I don't think they're going to find 20. We are hoping that they will find some. Aisha and then Liz.
So you have your hand up? I don't see you.
Can you refresh me on exactly where this is intending to happen? Is it 178th in Amsterdam?
No, 181st. Just going over to University Ave in the Bronx. So the Washington Bridge.
You see yours next.
So
Aisha, I'm sorry. Sorry to cut
to
you
the
off, Aisha.
entry? I'm sorry, I'm getting clarification.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That was my mistake.
I'm sorry, I can't hear Aisha. What was?
So I just want to put forward, and I wanted to understand exactly where this was for this reason. I've advocated against the elimination of parking in the community because it's looked at as, oh, you find somewhere else to put your car. But what is not looked at is the fringe effect of what that creates. That's a parent not able to go home and read to their child, spending hours looking for parking, service providers not able to find parking when they're providing services to residents in our community. It's so many things. It's people driving around wasting gas at a time that gas is extremely expensive. It's emissions during that process of looking for parking. It's so many things more than just the elimination of a parking space. And I just want board members to be conscious of that. Thank you.
You 100%.
Liz?
I had Debbie, I had Isidro whose hand you cannot see and has not said a word all night. Go ahead, Isidro.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm going to echo what Aisha indicated. Residents are desperate looking for parking spots, Debbie, and I was there at the meeting with DOT, and it seems that DOT has different priorities, but like Aisha said, it's crucial that those parking spots be replaced. We have Yeshiva University right next door to that spot. We have like about 2 different schools that are a block away. We have a commercial district that is also nearby, and to take 22 spots or 20 spots is just not reasonable. We care about bikers, we want to protect them, but at the same time, DOT has to come up with a solution. So I hope that you press them, and I hope that in your resolution, something's stated about how this is going to affect our small businesses in the area that define the character and the content of our community. So I hope you also recognize that. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Isidro. Liz? And then Faye.
Yeah, I just want to say that as a person who drives and also parks on the street, I am very sympathetic to the parking issue, and I would respectfully suggest an amendment to your resolution that, you know, like a whereas that says, whereas parking is precious and difficult, and be it further resolved that DOT work to find some other parking spaces to restore. Because there have been some times when DOT has taken away parking spaces for these kinds of street infrastructure improvements, and then has tweaked things elsewhere and has found some parking spaces. But with that all said, we have consistently found that the more we make biking safer and more accessible, the more people engage in biking. So I will vote for this resolution, but I would really like to see amended language that calls on DOT to try and find some of this parking to give it back to the community, because that's going to be tough.
Are you suggesting that as a friendly amendment, Liz?
Well, it's already in the resolution. So we mentioned we have a whereas about the loss of spots, and we have a resolved on asking them to find spots.
100% my bad. Yes, it does.
Okay.
I retract
So,
that.
Okay, great. Faye?
Thank you, Debbie. And, you know, I really wanted just to go around the same issues about parking. And I think Aisha brought up something that is highly important and main concern for everyone. I can, you know, agree with her enough. And that talking about in that sense, what I wanted to see if it's possible that you may probably bring the possibility for DOT to consider the increase of angled parking, because the regular parking that we used to have, I noticed that, for example, on 190 between Amsterdam and Audubon Avenue, they turned that spot already. Actually, no, from St. Nicholas up to
that was part of
angle parking. And I think this is an excellent idea, but the same level of effort that they are putting in increasing bicycle station around the community, the effort of considering angle parking should be equal, because we really need those. And if you can some way somehow manage to use the language of an increase of angle parking, that would be very important, I believe so. And thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to get in a lot of spaces, and 190th was so wide, and it really allowed that was part of the Upper Amsterdam safety work.
Yes.
And everybody was thrilled because it was one of the few times that we saw a big piece of redesign work that took out a whole bunch of spots and pretty much replaced almost all of them. So agreed.
Okay, great.
You know, I will say this is just a pet peeve, but I'm going to say what I've said at several different forums lately. The precinct and the FDNY take, I don't know, do we think 75 spots, 80 spots? They could sure claw back some of them. So we got a lot of stuff that happens in the area. We will keep pushing on this. We always do. But we are going to see, everybody should be aware, we are going to see increasingly citywide policy is to get people substituting towards bus, substituting back into subways, but certainly everything bus, because there's so many places that don't have subway and they just have bus, to get people onto bicycles. If they're going to be in a private car, to have it be a shared car or a livery service or a taxi, but not a private car. So there's all sorts of things that are going to be coming down the pike that are going to create incentives for shared cars and parking spots for shared cars and that sort of thing. So this is going to be an ongoing effort to balance that. I'm a street parker too. And to just balance the fact that I always say, I feel like Uptown we may not have this big percentage of car owners, but we use our cars. We don't just put them down for a week or two and not move them. People use them because we live far from things. So we're very clear, and we're going to keep at it.
And Debbie,
Thank
Mr. Chairman.
you, Debbie.
ju-
Great
just very briefly on that.
presentation.
Oh, shit. Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
just to get, Faye, hit me offline. Don't worry about
Yes.
it.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Wayne,
okay. Just wanted to consider.
Wayne Benjamin on you. Actually, it's Liz Ritter on her presentation on the
Thank you.
waterfront construction at
So
Dyckman
we
Street.
had a
Sorry.
very busy meeting, and I'm just going to jump right into it. We had two really thorough, beefy presentations from the Parks Department on important capital projects. One of which was on the 186th Street basketball renovation. Now, we originally were supposed to have a resolution supporting that plan, but one of the aspects of the plan is involves a 4-foot fence around to close off the area when it's closed. And there's some opinion within the community that it should be a 7-foot fence. So we wanted to have some additional community feedback on that point. We will be revisiting that issue with some more community participation at our December meeting. So for people who care about the 186th Street basketball, I encourage everybody to show up to our December meeting because that will be on the agenda. The other resolution relates to the waterfront development at the, there we go, at the Hudson River at the Dyckman terminus. So everybody, I think, is pretty familiar with that. You've got a marina concession. Within the marina concession, there is a dock, a floating dock. South of the marina, there's the Inwood Canoe Club. North of the marina, there is, of course, a restaurant concession. And north of that, at the end of Dyckman Street, is the fishing pier and a very, very small beach. So part of the Inwood zoning points of agreement was that the city was going to put a pretty significant amount of money into fixing up a number of things that are wrong with that space. The pier is falling apart. It has dramatically outlived its useful life. The pier also, where it's situated, is by a sewage overflow. Let me say that again, a sewage overflow. So when it's raining and the sewers are overwhelmed, they dump into the Hudson at the point where people are fishing. What could possibly go wrong? So we as a community have wanted to have an eco dock. We as a community would like to have some other kinds of boats that are able to float up and dock up on the marina, but they can't because of what the existing pier looks like. So this plan will add a new gangways to optimize the utility of the existing dock. It will make improvements to the dock. It will add an eco dock, and it will remove the pier from where it is north of the restaurant concession and relocate it south so that it's within the marina. This does several things, including get it away from that sewage overflow. It puts it into deeper water for a better fishing experience. But most importantly, by locating it within the marina, which is open earlier and closes later, it provides more public access to the pier. It also means that the beach can be reconfigured and enlarged so that we actually have a beach. And if you don't think that's really cool, I don't know, what's the matter with you? That's fantastic, right? It will also take the turnaround at the end of Dyckman Street, west of the Greenway, and turn that into a pedestrian plaza with plantings, really beautiful, preserve the 7 parking spaces required for the restaurant concession according to their concession, but there's no loss of parking because that's not legal parking right now anyway. Important to keep in mind is what exactly this will look like. This is a resolution supporting the conceptual plan. It'll go before the Public Design Commission and a whole bunch of like 9 agencies that have a licensing purview over this. And then Parks will come back to the committee and to the board in probably May or June with a more specific plan, at which point we will be able to vet that. So this resolution speaks only to the sort of broad usage and the design concept. It is not a specific and exact design. We passed this unanimously in the committee with the 6 members who were in attendance. We had a very well-attended meeting, probably 60 people. We had representation from all of the major waterfront using groups, many people from Hudson River Community Sailing, Uptown Paddling, somebody else that I'm forgetting, and of course the Inwood Canoe Club themselves. Everybody likes the plan. There were some questions about some accessibility features, and those will be rolled into the more specific details. But conceptually, there was nobody who objected to it, and everybody really liked the concept. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Don't see anything on
Oh,
the
see,
panel.
we're getting an echo, Doc.
All right. It's extremely well presented result. What would anybody wants to ask you any questions if you already said it all?
Fantastic.
Great. As usual. Isidro, you up next.
Thank you so much, Chair. So for licensing, we had 13 resolutions. Not much to discuss. There's some specific items that you might have read on in the minutes. Agenda item number 8 has some issues where they requested a corporate change. There were some disagreements between what the prison reported versus what the merchant indicated has actually been happening, but the details are very clearly detailed in the minutes. Also, for your attention, please note that agenda item number 11 is going to be overturned from a positive to a negative because they were requested to bring proof of a purchase of a sound limiter, and they did not do that as requested by the deadline. So on that note, agenda item number 7 will now become a negative vote or an objection. What else to say? There are 4 withdrawals, so you're not voting on those. 6, 7, 9, and 10. So you're not voting on those, obviously. And I guess that's basically it. Nothing much from licensing. I'm really grateful for the support that I have gotten from Simari, who wrote the minute. So thank you so much, Simari, as always. Questions now? Steve?
Yeah, Isidro on this resolution number 8. There certainly seems to be grounds to be concerned about it. The minutes indicate that there were 263 311 calls, noise complaints, and that the manager received 3 summonses from the police for selling alcohol beverages without a license, warehouse alcohol without a permit, an unlawful private club operation. The person who is proposing to become an officer of the corporation, which apparently necessitates this corporate change, indicates here that these 3 summonses were null and void. Did the police concede to that point?
Correct, and that's what one of the intriguing points of this discussion, because when the applicant indicated that those summonses were null and void, and then there was nowhere that they were registered, the prison didn't say anything on the topic. So that kind of raised some red flags, and some members seem to believe that there's something going on there in the relationship between the 33rd precinct and obviously the merchant. Some committee members stated that they have passed by the area and they have never heard any issue as far as like noise is concerned. On the amount of 311 calls, the merchant indicated there's only one person that is making all these calls, and that is like a bandera. And the 33rd person did indicate that the noise complaints are emanating from two other what you call it, residents that are complaining. So not just one, but they indicated like three in total residents that were complaining.
Well, if these people are living on top of the establishment, maybe they have a basis for making those complaints. The resolution also refers not to just to noise complaints, but also to overcapacity levels. What is that about?
I'm not too clear about the capacity level. I'm sorry. Right. It's 45. The capacity is 45. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but the resolution says something about overcapacity. Have they been found having having large crowds inside the establishment beyond the 45? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
So I have a committee member indicating here that that establishment has been there for over 55 years. And as far as like the overcapacity is concerned, I got to check because I don't have the questionnaire here, and I cannot recall the specific number that they're required to have. So I cannot answer that, Steve, right now, because I do not have all the records here, because I thought that they're going to come over from the community board. Actually, I do have them. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So can you
So the
repeat
capacity
which
is 74.
resolution is that?
The capacity is 74.
What resolution number?
Agenda item number 8.
But what would the overcapacity issues that that the resolution refers to?
It's okay, Rob. It could be one person that it's over the limit, but the PD didn't have a complete report on our capacity, and that's why it was not stated.
Well.
Next question, please.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't quite sound kosher. All right.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Cesar. So we're gonna take the tally and vote and just on these resolutions before we move on to our committee reports. Catherine, you with us?
So I'll be doing the roll call.
Okay, and she takes the tally. Okay, good enough.
Coordinating it that way.
Hold the mic for you.
So remember to mention your no's, abstentions, and then your yeses. First up, we have Joel Abreu. Joel, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you guys.
Your vote, Joel?
Yes to all.
Thank you. Next, we have Jumirna Alcorbe.
May you come back to me, please, Angel?
Sure.
Thanks.
Mariel Ali.
Can you come back to me as well? Thank you.
Sure. Richard Allman. No, we had Richard here, but I'm not sure where he's still. I will come back. Mary Anderson.
No to 8, yes to the rest.
Okay, so that is no to A.
8. 8.
8, okay.
Number 8.
And yes to the rest. Thank you.
Right.
Jay Baez.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Jacob Banis.
Yes to all. Thank you, Angel.
Thank you. Wayne Benjamin. Wayne, do we still have you? Okay. James Berlin.
I believe for the first time in my life, it's actually yes to all.
Wow. Yes to all. Daniel Bonilla.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Hector Bonilla.
He left.
Okay. Tanya Bonner.
No to A, 8, 11, 12, 13. Yes to the rest.
So that's no to A, 8, 11, 12, and 13.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you. James Bosley.
Yes to all.
Thank you, James. Darrell Cochran. That's a yes to all. Nobles Crawford is not here. Luis Cruz.
Yes to all.
Thank you, Luis. Robin Cruz. Say that one more time. Okay. So that's a no to B, yes to the rest. Catherine Diaz.
Yes to all.
Mansita Diawara.
No to 11, yes to the rest.
No to 11, yes to the rest. Domingo Esteves. Are you still with us, Domingo? I'll come back. Luana Ferreira.
She's not.
Okay.
We lost Domingo as well.
Fe Florimon. Fe. She's on virtually. I'll come back. Barbara Frazier. I don't think she's here. Simari Hernandez.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Miriam James.
Not here. Sorry to miss that.
Leo Jimenez.
I want to say thank you to the executive board for running an efficient meeting. Yes to all.
Thank you. Joseph Kalinsky.
No to A, yes to the rest.
So that's no to A, yes to the rest. Osi Kaminer.
No to number 8, yes to the rest.
So that's no to 8, yes to the rest. Michelle Lee. I think she's not here. Francisco Lopez.
Yes to all, please. Yes to all.
Thank you. Liz Ritter.
I'm voting no on 8. I'm not voting on 1 due to conflict. They recently contributed to a fundraiser of an organization on whose board I sit. And yes to the rest.
Sure. So that's no on 8 and no vote on 1 due to conflict.
Correct. And yes to the rest.
And yeah, thank you. Maria Luna.
I vote no to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 11, 12, 13. Go back.
Sure. So that's no on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 12, and 13.
11, 12, and 13.
11 as well. Okay. Thank you. Emily Marte.
Can you come back to me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Kimberly McCoy.
No to A, yes to all.
So that's no to A, yes to the rest.
Correct.
Isidro Medina.
Not to A, yes to the rest.
That's no to A, yes to the rest. Debbie Nabavian.
Yes to all, and a big thank you to everybody that made this dual meeting work tonight.
Thank you, Debbie. Jonathan Nunez from Meta. Jonathan. Okay, I'll circle back. Aisha Ogilvy.
Circle back to me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Bruce Robertson.
Yes to all. Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Thanks, Bruce. Steve Simon.
Not voting on B because of my position with the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, and voting no on number 8.
So that's not voting due to conflict on B and no on 8. Yes to the rest.
Yes.
Carl Anegbu.
Sorry,
Carl?
yes to all.
Carl?
Yes to all.
Okay. Angel Vasquez, I wrote yes to all. So I'm coming back. Jumirna,
Yes to all, please.
thank you. Marielle Ali,
No to 8, yes to the rest.
so that's no to 8, yes to the rest.
Correct.
Richard Allman has left the meeting. Wayne Benjamin left the meeting. Hector Bonilla. Domingo Esteves. Domingo.
Not here.
Okay. Luana.
Not here.
Fe Florimon.
She's here.
Yep. Fe. Emily Mate.
No to 8, well, number 8 and number 11, yes to the rest.
So that's no to 8 and 11, yes to the rest.
Yes, thank you.
Jonathan Nunez from Meta. Okay. Aisha Ogilvy.
I'm gonna abstain on A, no to number 8, and yes to the rest.
So that's abstain on A, no on number 8, and yes to the rest?
Yes.
Okay,
All
thank
right, give
you.
me 2 seconds. My document froze.
Nobles is on the call. You might want to ask him how he's voting.
I'm not
Okay.
sure if he's able to vote.
Yeah, I'm texting. I was texting with him now and getting clarity. I don't think he's able to vote at this time.
He joined
The fact
the
that
meeting
we
as
did the
roll
roll
call was
call.
underway.
Yeah, after roll call.
Okay, I got
done.
service now.
Sure. Robin Cruz, you indicated you wanted to change your vote? So it's no on A, and it's a yes on B. Okay.
Robin Cruz. No, yes.
Okay. Last shot, Domingo, do we have you?
Yes, I'm here. I got
Okay.
limited service right now.
Say that again? Domingo,
I got bad service.
how are you voting? Okay. And Fe Florimon, last opportunity. All right, we're moving on.
That's it.
And Elias said, bueno. So abstain on A, yes to the rest.
All right.
Thank you.
You hear me, Angel?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I vote no on A and yes to the rest.
Thank you. That's no on A, yes to the rest. That concludes the roll call.
Wait. Sorry, I didn't get Emily before.
Who did you not get?
Emily Marte.
Emily?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute. No to number 8 and 11, and then yes to the rest.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's no to
And
8
Angel.
and 11, yes to the rest.
Yeah. Sorry, and Angel, how is it that you vote?
Say that again.
How did you vote? Sorry.
Eli was an abstention
No,
on A.
you, Angel.
Me?
Yeah.
Yes to all.
All right, gotcha.
So good. Now that we finished this part of our meeting, we're gonna move on to our committee reports. We've already had parks, from what I understand. So I have Francisco. Wayne is left, so it's gonna have Francisco, Mary, Steve Simon, Emily Marte, and the resolution for the salary increase. I'm gonna start with Francisco. Go ahead.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Awesome. So yeah, our November meeting was very short. So besides what I'm about to say, please refer to the minutes. Isidro Medina came to our board meeting to discuss a new grant that the bid, Washington Heights bid, is offering for small business employees who were affected by the pandemic. He broke down the requirements. He was able to show us how to apply, where to apply for English and non-English speaking folks as well. And that's pretty much the big part of our meeting. Again, refer to the minutes. Any questions? Let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to add, Cisco, anybody who didn't apply to the grant that the bid is, if you work in Washington Heights, please share it with the community. It's a grant. Isidro did a great presentation on it. Spread the word.
Caesar, count me in.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Mary?
Yes, good evening, everybody. For the most part, please read the minutes. What I do want to let people know is that our committee talked a lot about being able to, since we are the only committee that meets in the daytime, to continue to have virtual meetings, because otherwise we would drop our attendance back to probably just the committee members, because that would necessitate people coming to, to the board office for meetings. The difficulty is that, with the virtual meeting, I mean, the good thing is with the virtual meetings is that we have people from all of the senior centers and a variety of other agencies that join our meetings because they don't have to leave the office. They can be there if they're needed for an emergency, but they can come into our meetings and, really contribute to, what our goals and goals are and our mission is. So this letter has been formulated and has gone out, signed by Eleazar, to the governor, to the mayor, and to the state electeds. So we're hoping that we are going to get exempted from having to do the hybrid meetings because of this, because several members of our committee are also in the same difficulty with their daytime jobs. And, it's impossible for people to get there to the office, find parking, which is non-existent, and then get back to the office. They really can't take that time, that, period of time away from their work. So we want to maintain this aging committee because I think it's really, really important for the community. But how we can do it without being on Zoom, I don't know. So hopefully this will go forward and get some attention. Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Beautiful. Thank you, Merit, for all the hard work you do for us. Steve Simon.
Yeah, the latest COVID-19 report from the City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Last week, the positivity rates in our 4 zip codes were just below the citywide average, which was still an elevated percentage of 10.5%. Zip code 32 is at 9.76, zip code 33 at 9.44, zip code 40 at 10.34, and zip code 34 at 10.03. There were 202 new cases last week. Since the beginning of the pandemic, there have been over 61,000 cases among residents of Washington Heights and Inwood. That's basically 1 out of every 3 residents has had COVID. And we've suffered the loss of 970 people who have died in Washington Heights and Inwood during this period. So I believe this clearly reinforces the need for people in this community to get vaccinated. In the 4 zip codes, we're running between 79 and 83% of people who've had 1 dose. Citywide, we're at 89. Manhattan as a whole is at 99. We are significantly behind everyone else here. And in terms of people who have completed their dosage, we're running between 71 and 74%, whereas the rest of the city is at 80% and Manhattan is at 85%. So, people are, the case numbers are going to continue to go up. And at our last meeting, New York Presbyterian also reported that there's been an uptick in the number of cases of patients coming into the hospital with COVID. People who already know that they have COVID, and then people who are showing up for other reasons. And as they're being checked, doctors are finding that they have the symptoms. They either have the symptoms or are asymptomatic and also have COVID. That's also something to look out for. At our next meeting, hopefully we'll be getting a presentation. We will be getting a presentation from one of the leading doctors at New York Presbyterian on HIV/AIDS. Every year we do get an annual update as in observance of World AIDS Day. We are actually meeting December 1st, which is World AIDS Day. We're also hoping to get a presentation on the brownfield cleanup at 401 West 207th Street, one of the brownfield sites up on 207th and 9th Avenue. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you very much. And lastly, Emily Marte with Housing and Human Services report.
Thank you. And I'll present with Marielle as I did in the executive. So really quickly, just going along with 207th Street. So there was a presentation by Inwood Project, who is constructing in 207th Street. They requested for a variance of extension of hours to be for also a Saturday date. Being that it was added right before the meeting, we thought it was fit to just move it to the next meeting so that public members could join us so that they could have their own input when they present. And Marielle will talk a little bit more about that because I believe they just sent us like an email about that. So just look out for the recording so that you could hear on their presentation. And we're also going to forward the presentation that they had to the community board so that everyone could have access to it. Also, another variance request is for 37 Hillside Avenue. It's been on the agenda for a while. We moved it off the last time just because we didn't have enough information or research and we still needed to pick around about it. So now we got some information and Marielle will talk a little bit about that for the next meeting. And in our last meeting, we also discussed Housing and Human Services committee priorities. Sorry if my voice leaves, I'm a little sick. And we were discussing to see, because like we see that we have the same rotating items, and we wanted to see if we could add other items, being that some people also in meetings have said that there is like a human services crisis, or there's other things that they would like to tackle in terms of housing and human services. So we asked about that. Yes, it was a little late because it was like our last agenda item, but we did mention things such as like being involved with media outlets, the use of technology, education, advocacy, pandemic vision, etc. So just look at our notes for that. And if you'd like to give some more input, we could talk about it at the next meeting. We were also discussing a few times in our last few meetings, there had been mention of two buildings on the same street, 705 West and 709 West, 170th Street, which are buildings that are in distressed properties list and under the AEP alternate enforcement program. So we were requesting to have HPD like have a say on this. I think we'll say something on that for Mariel. And then another topic that also keeps coming up and that always gets head nods is the Fort Washington Armory and getting a hearing. So obviously we're going to keep approaching that until something is done. And then also CB4, Community Board 4, they sent out sanitation recommendations, which has to do with some of the topics that came up today and the RAP bill, which I call the RAP bill, INT 442, and just recommendations that were given to the Department of Sanitation of New York in regards to waste management planning and rodent containers and all of that stuff, which all has to do with a few of the topics that were mentioned today. So I sent out that letter and we're going to discuss it. Hopefully everyone saw it. And I'll pass it on to Marielle.
I was just about to
Thanks, Emily.
I was just about to tag team you guys since you're getting a double jam. So yeah, go ahead, Mariel.
I'll be quick. Emily. I'll be quick. Emily covered most of it. So looking ahead for December, we've invited the Department of Buildings to join us for the meeting to discuss the process to request after hours variances, work variances. We know that's been a point of a lot of questions. And so this is an opportunity for us to hear directly from Department of Buildings in terms of the process and what it is that developers, should come to us asking for and what does that look like. So please spread the word and we'll be sure to do that as well to ensure that residents have an opportunity to attend and participate. As Emily said, the developers from 405, 407 West 206th Street, also known as Inwood Project, they were supposed to present for December, but they've actually reached out like yesterday that they're no longer presenting, that they'll present later in the spring, because what they will request is within kind of the Department of Buildings requirements for after hours work variances. So we'll continue to be in touch with them and work with them when the spring rolls around. Two other things that we're looking forward to working on as well for the December meeting is December 10th specifically is International Human Rights Day. I think a lot of you know my background and kind of my work at the UN. And so what we would like to do is put forward a work on a resolution, obviously through the committee first, and we'll see how that goes, but really to encourage the community board to think about things through their intersectional lenses, through a human rights and social justice perspective, when we consider and write all of these resolutions. So do look forward to that if it passes committee in December. And then lastly, on the alternate enforcement program, we are in touch with HPD to hopefully get someone to join us at a future meeting. We're aiming for January, but again, more details to come on that. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Double team of Emily and Mariel. I'm so happy about you, Emily. You've come a long way, and I'm really happy about your progress. Thumbs up. Yes, Mariel, good job. Moving along, we're gonna hand the floor to, or the mic, to Catherine Diaz and Angel Vasquez on the presentation of
Wait, wait,
further
wait.
resolution approving the salary increase for our district manager. Catherine,
I have my hand up.
I am so sorry. Who?
Liz
There's 3
Ritter,
hands up.
Who?
Liz Ritter, I have my hand up.
It's Ritter.
I put my hand
Sorry,
up
sorry,
right away.
sorry. I was looking at the second. Yeah, sorry.
Thanks. I apologize. I should have mentioned this during my report. I just wanted to let everybody know who wasn't aware of it, that last Sunday, the Parks Department had a beautiful event honoring CB12's own Sally Fisher for her tremendous contributions to the community as the co-founder of Friends of Inwood Hill Park, and for the many, many, many things that she does and is. It was a lovely event. We've got some pictures from it that I'm happy to share, and I just wanted to let people know that because she's great and it was a nice event.
So emotional. It was so emotional during our executive list that I kind of like skipped my mind. Thank you all for reminding us. And I'm sorry, Steve, and I'm sorry, Aisha. I was looking at the other screen. So, Steve.
Yeah, I just want to say to Emily and Marielle that the mayor signed a package of legislation last Friday on rat mitigation, various bills dealing with the rat issue. They probably impact both of our committees. I'm going to try to gather some information on those bills, and I'll pass it on to you.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha.
So first of all, I want to welcome back Marielle Ali. I'm very excited to have her return to our committee. But I'm glad that Marielle mentioned HPD in her statements about agencies coming to see us, and she mentioned January being the potential, but I actually, before she said that, raised my hand to impress upon the chair to invite HPD because they're long overdue. I believe that they should be coming now in December because we have outstanding matters that every day there are tenants in 2 buildings, 53 apartments, if I remember the count correctly, that they're in duress. And we've been waiting for answers from HPD. They're actively in court and there's lack of information. So if the conversation can be had, it would be my hope before Christmas that we can have HPD come and speak to us.
Right on. Right on, Aisha. Faye, and then we're gonna move on because probably time sensitive here at our space in everybody's time. Faye, you had a comment or a question to make?
It's very brief. I just want to apologize because I have to absent with some situation with my neighbor. But anyway, I'm voting and everything, yes, and I just wanted to refer to the minutes for my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I hope you're safe, Faye. I hope it doesn't. Okay, Catherine. Kat? I can't call her.
Well, we have to move into executive session for the next conversation.
Okay, so we're gonna move into executive session. If you can, the YouTube transmission, gotta stop it and
Eleazar,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
for the benefit of the public, can you just briefly explain what executive session is and why we're moving into it? Because I think not everybody will understand that and they might wonder why the YouTube thing is.
pretty much, can you do that for us? I know you explained
Sure.
it
Okay,
much
so
better than I would.
we are about to move into executive session, which is something that we do when we are discussing a sensitive personnel matter, such as a salary in this case. So what that means is only members of the board can be present on the call. So that means we will end the YouTube transmission, and anybody who is in the room will be asked, who is not a board member will be asked to leave. And anybody who is on the Zoom as a participant who is not a board member will be removed from the meeting. Please don't take that personally. Community boards operate transparently and publicly, but for personnel matters, we are required by the city charter to go into executive session.
But we'll come back for new business.
How does coming back for new business work? Because one of the quirks of Zoom is if someone is removed, they cannot sign back on. So do we have the
Right.
ability to move people to like a waiting room?
We unfortunately Zoom does not provide us for a room. Microsoft Teams does. So we're gonna try and probably send them new links if they request them.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm back and apologize for that interruption tonight. I was gonna say that we do have the ability to still be live on YouTube when we return, so folks can still have the opportunity to watch and engage.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I think that hang on. I think that we don't have any attendees, so I think that we are ready to go. Catherine?